Hello. Welcome to this very special episode of Terminus. I am the black metal guy. The death metal guy couldn't make it today because he is sitting alone in the ruins of Notre Dame listening to G.G. Allen's Bite It You Scum on repeat. But in all seriousness, he is not here today because this is an experimental episode of Terminus where I try a solo review on my own and then we do an interview. And, if this experiment goes well, if it's not the Terminus Cold Lake, then we'll probably be doing more of these. And the death metal guy will, I'm sure, have plenty of records he wants to talk about. And plenty of people he wants to interview. So, how did this come about? Well, we first got in touch with Damian Master of Colloquial Sound Recordings, who is the one man behind A Pregnant Light, back in late October when we reviewed a record he put out on his label, which is Swaraj, or Self-Rule, by Dresden Streams. That was on, Terminus 24. And that was kind of Slavic black metal filtered through a Indian, as in subcontinental aesthetic. And that actually made it on my year-end list. And I'd been vaguely familiar with A Pregnant Light before, which I'll talk about at some point. And, it was a little out of our orbit, right? I think I sort of saw it as post-black by somebody who actually listens to black metal, which is more than you can say for most bands in corpse paint these days. We really like the Dresden Streams record, and Damian loved our reviews, and he got in touch, and I've sort of had a correspondence with him off and on since then, and I think I could say without presuming too much that he's a friend, of which I'm proud. And I thought after a while, well, goddamn, I should listen to A Pregnant Light more than the little bit I have, right? So finally, I just got the most recent one, or one of the more recent full lengths that is one of the more aggressive outings of the band, which is Broken Play. And I thought, first it was just like, well, I'm going to really, give this a listen. And then I found myself listening to it obsessively for months. And I mean, since probably January or February. And at that point, it's like, you get ideas about something and you want to spit them out there in a way that's a little different from like a bonus episode on history stuff. So we timed this to coincide with the 2-year anniversary of Broken Play, which is July 1st. So what is A Pregnant Light in a more detailed way? So everything about this atmospherically, you would say, is kind of screamo, right? Screamo, obviously, in the sense of real screamo, right? As in screamo with a bass in hardcore, maybe an even stronger bass in hardcore than most screamo. There are sort of rhythmic, there are breakdowns, there are propulsive thrash beats, which we'll get to more. There is a sense of tempo and aggression that's different from the kind of speed and aggression you get in something like, I don't know, fucking Page 99 or whatever, right? It's sort of driving muscular music. But it is also operating at full emo. And it's not some like fusion gimmick, right? This is very different from, Lord knows we've shat on Death Heaven enough on this show, but very different from something like that, right? And in part that's because the black metal element here, which is, I guess, the first thing I should have said before not a fusion, the black metal element here is being used in specific ways. It's not just like, it's not just, how can I do black metal screamo? The record isn't pretending remotely to produce black metal effects, and it's not really The overall sense of writing isn't really coming from there either, right? But it's black metal technique, black metal ideas, black metal structures, not necessarily the ones you'd expect, used in specific ways to accomplish specific stuff in the songs. And yeah, I can think of a few other solid post-black bands that do that. We've maybe reviewed a few of them on the show or mentioned them. But here it's sort of, the cool thing is that as much as this music marks itself off as not pretending to be anything or not being based on gimmickry or novelty, the black metal element ultimately comes through anyway on a spiritual and atmospheric level. So, why the obsessive listening? Well, I mean, part of it is the record. It's phenomenal, and I think anytime in the last few years after I became more open-minded about things like this, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot and, felt it would have resonated on some level. But, since this is, normally on the show we try to keep it pretty impersonal, which is, the proper comportment of black and death metal. But since this is sort of rooted in emo and hardcore and whatnot in its own ways, I'll get a little more personal. I feel like, back in December, I had to sort of willingly part ways with a woman I loved more than, anyone I've ever met. Right? And that changes you, right? It's 9 days I hung on that tree, impaled by my own spear. The runes fell from the branches. One by one I caught them up, right? You learn, you learn. I feel like I get this. I really, it's one of those kind of like, man, I really get it now, but I feel like I really get it now. I think I understand it in a way I wouldn't have before. And it's listening to this has been a profoundly fortifying in a way that often certain kinds of emo or melancholy post-black or atmospheric black metal might not be, right? They might encourage you to a certain kind of indulgence. This has tapped into it's tapped into the feels, but in a different way. And, today I actually, sort of by coincidence, or completely by coincidence, I ended up meeting up with my ex and, talking with her for the first time in 6 months. And so I figured, well, I better go fucking record this review now. So we're going in raw. But first, something like anytime you attempt to relate to a record, right, you want to make it clear that you're not claiming someone else's experience, right? The experience that went into Broken Play is clearly Damian Master's alone. And, if anything, it's probably more tragic or intense than anything I've had to go through, right? I'm not trying to say like, oh, this record's about me or some shit like that, right? It's, it's about him and it's about everyone and everything, right? And what it's about more specifically is heroin and loss, right? This record has a lot to do, I think, with kicking heroin, and it has to do with some sort of really sort of tragic thing that happened with a woman that he loved very much. And it's not ever totally clear what that thing is. I imagine it's been worked on artistically to a point where it implies a lot of different ways and things. So yeah, we'll come back to this sort of impersonal versus personal kind of thing and the more kind of emo component of it all later. But let's talk about the music, right? So I think I guess we're going to be talking about that shit the whole time too. It feels all the way through. Buckle up. So I think the track that encapsulates this record has to be Baby Chain. I listened to the first couple tracks and I was like, whoa, this is fucking hard. Like, this is awesome. I like this even, I like this more than I thought. And then Baby Chain comes on, and it is, well, at first it has that title, and second, it's like way more overtly emo than the first couple tracks. And yet I think this is where the record, like, I often just start it here simply because it encapsulates things so well. You're going to get this kind of, you call it sensitive mosh, which reminds me of bands like The Carrier, who keep the hardcore structures, but all the texture is coming from sort of emo, screamo type guitar. And so let's just listen to it. It's a great song. So we're going to go about 30 seconds into Baby Chain. Wasn't easy to cut it there, but yeah, so you get that sensitive mosh thing, right? In some of those big really, really physical parts. I mean, I love the the sort of, there's a kind of unhinged vocal, right, during that boom 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 sort of breakdown build section, right? There's just screaming, and to some degree that was already in screamo, but in a different way, right? That was very, his tone there is a hardcore vocal, right? Kind of a a tough shout, right? But the way of doing that is straight, like, you can follow that all the way back to Varg, right? Just be fucking nuts. And it's got this, the song is so, those chords are so delicate, right? Those are straight up emo, like, don't even have to be screamo, right? You could sing over those, you could sing in a high voice over those, whatever, right? But the whole thing has this chest thumping energy. even though the chording and the basic melodic ideas are coming more from this kind of American, introverted, sometimes like sentimental tradition, the music it has that feeling that you get in the best, one of the best black metal of any kind, of flying, right? I don't usually think of Blasty Screamo as flying. It's not operating on that plane. You get the sense of expansiveness that you get in black metal, right? Sort of the idea that this is sick, I'll just keep playing it, right? And a lot of the way he's playing it is straight from Slavic black metal, not in the superficial wolves in the throne room, like, oh my God, you can make it like pretty way, but in the sense of, oh, this guy spent a lot of time listening to Droog, listening to Blaze Birth, listening not just to the hits, but to the, listening to the ways that this music sort of approaches abstraction and extremity, right? Even the approach to picking is pretty Senko. You can hear him picking with his whole arm, right? And so that's all sick. This song also kind of is a good introduction to, I guess, the Pregnant Light character, or the Damian Master character, which you could call romantic protagonist anti-hero. So here's some lyrics. Wide eyes on my passenger's side, tonight we'll take a ride. One hand on the wheel, the other on your knee. I take control and drive us deep through darkened highway and quiet streets. We go forever, we die together. Have you ever felt God lied to you? Even though you know it isn't true. I thought I heard him whisper. Was the voice I heard my own, or worse, around my neck, this baby chain? Its tiny links spell out your name, and it never comes off. It is who I am. It is part of me. It is my body. Out there somewhere, you wear one too. A golden truth, when I die again. Let it rest with me above the Ouroboros. Right? I mean, you get through all of that, right? And you're finally back at imagery that, the last line could be in a song by, any great underground black metal band of the last 20 years or whatever, right? Could be in a House of First Light thing. It could be in Pagan Hellfire, right? The serpent devouring his tail, right? But before that, right, you get the sense of there's a specific kind of character here, right? He's sort of he carries a profound grief, but also a kind of unerring confidence and a sexuality, right? Just like masculine sexuality that is very uncommon in emo or screamo, right? It exists as this kind of masculinity against itself, this kind of vexed and anxious thing, right? That's very male, just in a stupid way, or a adolescent way. And, there's something to exploring that, right? And there are bands that did it better than others, right? And there's something to that particular mode of vulnerability, right? But this is a different kind of vulnerability. You can see it more clearly on another track with it. It also combines the full sense of this character, which is, I am the man of your dreams. All right, so here are some lyrics. My Esme, your father's watch on your wrist and from your lips. I hear my name prepare a place. I see the light through the window. Pray for me softly. Remember my eyes flung so far from you. Wait for me, baby. Earth is a prison. I don't know how much time I'll do. So, one thing that makes this sort of a little bit different from the standard, the stereotypical, and I think the stereotype exists for a reason, emo or screamo attitude, is you get this sense of deep mourning without a kind of melancholy dependence or regret. Whatever happened is behind him in time, and it's not making him it's not making him miserable, it's profoundly sad, but it's a source of sustenance and strength for him that this existed, right? He sort of there's a lot of affirmation, and that's something you attain with a kind of maturity, right? It's right. This music is heavy with the weight of experience, I would say. In that sense, it sort of reminds me of Planes Mistaken for Stars, right? Who are just an outstanding screamo band that sort of became everything screamo wasn't. Basically, just imagine like Matt Pike from High on Fire playing this extraordinarily heavy post-hardcore stuff, and like Planes Mistaken for Stars is like, this is man screamo, son, right? This is screamo for dudes who drink whiskey and get laid and are still kind of, still have their hearts left, right? And that mood is very much here, right? You get this kind of bad boy with a heart of gold vibe, right? That sort of roguish element is probably clearer on some of his other releases, like the new one that just came out, which is awesome, which is called I Licked It, Now It's Mine. Highly recommended. But yeah, so that's like, I think that song gives you a good sense of like this record at its most, yeah, just at its sort of most beautiful and most open-hearted, right? But what's interesting about this is there are so many other tracks, so many other sort of pivotal tracks that are flat. The lyrics are similar, but the songs are just flat out aggressive. In a way that even a lot of more music that's trying to tell you how aggressive it is, isn't. So this is Broken Play, the title track. And here are some lyrics from earlier in the track, from before the sample comes in. I spent that time running wild, living free, burning bright, electric in the night, queen of summer, I feel alive. Sunglasses, sundresses, leather bound and deepest black, true fire and softest moonlight, trust me, hold me, close your eyes. Lay down your head, give in to me. Hold tight the bunny, and feel me bleed. Smile back at me from the kitchen sink. Prepare our meal so we can eat. I taste the moment and savor every bite, our lips an open window. Tonight you are my wine, and through the mouth of pain and loss. Just say my name, to see my ghost, I'll find you in forever. So yeah, you actually got some of the lyrics I read there. Who knows where they are in the song, really? It's rare that I pay this much attention to lyrics, right? You just listen to the screaming and the stuff about werewolves. But like what I really want to emphasize about this track, I mean, you can figure out the lyrics. I mean, I guess the one thing looking back on the lyrics since I read them is a thing I wanted to say earlier about with this and with I Am the Man of Your Dreams and pretty much everything on this song, there's some ambiguity about whether they broke up or whether they're still together and going through some miserable shit or whether she's dead, right? There's a lot of spiritual stuff about the afterlife and about death, reunion and death, absence, and that undertone is important to this record. I'll come back to it. Anyway, let's talk about that track and get a little less sad sack, right? What's fucking sick about that is that is just a thrashing hardcore song, right? That song, what was incredible is just how long does he ride that sort of Slayer beat groove, right? That's like basically 2 minutes locked into the same groove, and it keeps going, right? Towards the end of the track, it just rolls on. And that's sort of like that shows really careful attention to something, I talk about a lot on the show, which is sort of like repetition as a way of accumulating power, repetition as aggression, right? And it's something you can pick up in hardcore bands that write much shorter songs. Like clearly the imprint of Discharge is on here, right? But it's been stretched out so sort of impossibly far, right? So, like that section of the song was the length of more than one Discharge song, at least a lot of them. That you get this, again, black metal ideas of structure and scale, right? Just repetitive droning intensity, right? So the thing that really struck me when I was listening to this track, and I think it's sort of its twin track, Future Panther, which I'll get to in a second, and which might be my favorite, my favorite or second favorite, and it's up there with Baby Chain on the record, right? These sort of twin tracks and various other points throughout the record, we start to notice during these really sort of repetitive parts where he's just riffing is the rock solid rhythmic basis of this record. That is, I don't know that I'm sure this is true of a few other records, but I've never thought this before about anything. You could change every single note on this, every single chord, every single lyric, and it would still rip. You could make this dissonant as fuck. You could make it, you could make it sound like, raw black metal. You could make it sound like, I don't know, like Emperor or Sacramentum or something. You could make it sound much more like, you could certainly like just rewrite the whole thing as like sounding like Druid with some thrash parts, right? And you could even just like fuck up all the notes and make it sound like Skronk, and it would still rip. I guess we've been talking about rhythm more on the show, and there's the way that he's locked in over that thrash beat shows a complete command of the elemental parts of hardcore thrash black metal. An interest not just in the bells and whistles and the things that make you sort of turn your head, but in like the actual stuff, right? The kill riffs, the parts for running around with a sword, or thrashing like a maniac, as they say. So there are a couple major influences on this track and on this album that are really unusual for this kind of music, both in terms of stuff from the Screamo lineage and stuff that's integrating it with black metal. The kind of black metal that's most prominent on this record, as far as like, oh, that's X kind of black metal riff, is Bathory. It's, black speed metal. It's first wave. And, Bathory certainly starts to, takes those ideas from Discharge and starts to get that hypnotic sense of repetition and just sort of like drooling, grinning, thrashing locked in groove. And, you can hear there are speed metal-y leads and flourishes throughout this, right? Lots of awesome embellishment, and lots of very physical playing. And that actually connects to, there's, on Colloquial Sound recently, they just put out a Bathory cover record, a few different projects collaborating. It's called The Dark Saint of Stockholm. It's a split between sort of bands that share some members, like Oblidi Devoravit, Damian Master himself, and Aksumite, or Aksumite, which is like his kind of straight up mysterious guy hardcore band. So like, noisy, stompy, Iljarn shit, right? And like there's, I'll play you the cover later in the interlude, or one of them. But he's got experience playing that style in, other bands, basically, or something more like that style. And certainly the mysterious guy, Iljarn beat type thing, also important here in terms of just the sort of punkishness with hypnotic repetition. The other big influence here is, Slayer, right? There are two types of Slayer fans, right? There are the people who like Angel of Death and Rain and Blood the best, and there are people who prefer the middle of Rain and Blood. And Damian Master, if he doesn't prefer the middle, he certainly listens to it damn close and thinks that that's the important part. Like, if you don't like the middle of Rain and Blood, you don't like Slayer, and you probably don't like fundamental things about extreme metal. And that is where all the sort of furiously rhythmic, disciplined, extremely physical, sort of aggressive riffing happens. And this record seems tapped into... This record has a crazed energy through it, nonstop. Damian told me it was sort of recorded in a blur. And that Slayer energy is here throughout. And, it also traces him back to certain roots. You might think, what the fuck does Slayer have to do with emo? And other than, emo kids in the early 2000s wearing Slayer shirts that they didn't know the band, right? What it is the legacy of late 90s and early 2000s metallic hardcore. I believe, if I'm getting this right, I think All Out War is a good example of totally Slayer-based hardcore. Integrity doesn't sound like Slayer, but had a huge influence from them. That started much earlier. And Converge at that time really was kind of the missing link between emo and Slayer. On their early stuff, right, you got songs that are just like emo, kind of like not great wimpy emo. And you've just got songs that sound like they literally could have been on Rain and Blood. Petitioning the Empty Sky, in particular, has a ton of Slayer stuff on it, and there's a bit on Jane Doe, too, and it's just, like, obviously it's not as good because they didn't invent the style, but they play it just as well and come up with these incredible riffs in that style. They're, like, completely inhaled Slayer. So... This is just grounded. This has a very different basis than a lot of stuff in the same sort of emotional and stylistic territory. And a lot of that in part has to do with right-hand control, picking, sense of musical time. Future Panther, which is maybe my favorite ripper on the album. I think I said that before. This is towards the back end, sort of working against the common tendency to make things more and more and more epic as the album goes on, or more and more sort of melodic, which happens a lot in records these days. Sometimes it's a good thing. But in this case, right, we're going to get another pedal to the metal, Bathory, Slayer, and... Yeah, I think I said before, the back end of this track really resembles the back end of Broken Play, with that sort of intense emphasis on repetition, furious repetition, possessed repetition, right? And maybe carries it even further. But let's think about repetition in a somewhat different way. Earlier in the track, about a minute in, check this out. So you can hear the thrash part kicking in at the end. You know, it just sort of bugs or sort of Energizer bunnies onwards. That you know, that is an incredible lead melody, though, right? And what it has is that quality that I think I talked a little bit about on the episode we just put out, about the idea of the infinite riff being this quality that black metal, and to some extent I think, you know, hardcore and certain kinds of death metal should also aspire to, right? I mean, Discharge being the first band to really nail it. The sort of the riff that can loop back on itself over and over and over again and just keep on sort of building power, right? And this, the way he's repeating that, right, achieves this kind of black metal drone effect, right? That's like very Slavic black metal in the way he's doing it. And you could link it to the, you know, the heavy metal intensity of the Swedish Black Death bands too, but the riff sounds completely different, right? That's like it's got this sort of like flamboyant, almost hair metal quality to it, or power metal or hair metal. And what that is the American screamo heavy metal riff, right? That is heavy metal as processed by dudes from the punk scene with feelings in the early 2000s, maybe a little before then. It's a distinct sound. I'm not an expert on that by any means, but like an off the top of the head example of that being done very prominently is the first couple Coheed and Cambria records, before they sort of, I mean, they may have they may have been over the shark from the beginning, but you know, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the first couple back in the day, and you know, there's this kind of like Rush-based guitar heroics, but there's things about the scales, or things about just not even scales, things about the note choice, the things they bring out about it that give it this specifically emo quality, sort of like or, you know, there's the suburban desolation quality that you get even in certain kinds of metalcore, right? And so just that sort of like looping climactic, sort of like, it's got this sort of, it has this sentimental quality to it, right? You could almost like just put it in the Atari's cover of that, Boys of Summer or whatever, but it's triumphant, right? That is a moment of breaking through the wall, right? Where this record sort of steps outside some of the raw material it's given and steps sort of into territory that is much more familiar to black metal people, right? Gives you that feeling of, eternity, right? So, and you could, there's this rock and roll vibe to it, right? You can hear him, his playing is great. It's sort of, again, this sort of, I like bends and sort of physical ornamentation like that. It's not fancy. It's looping around the same couple notes. But it's really rocked out like a guitar solo. And I realized you could think of A Pregnant Light as the extreme sort of screamo wing of the thing we've been calling outlaw rock. When we talk about it, the death metal guy often sort of stresses the resemblances to emo, and I often give him shit about that and say, this isn't coming from emo, it's coming from this or that, right? And, to some extent I stand by that, but it is also true that whether it's convergent evolution or direct influence, and it's probably a little bit of both, depending on the band, it does kind of tap into emo and screamo as just previous kinds of epic sounding, distinctively American sounding music with a kind of a bass and a certain kind of lush chords, whatever, right? And aspiring to something other than just certain kinds of metal aggression or hardcore aggression, right? And this, I think outlaw rock is honestly a pretty good description for at least A Pregnant Light on this record, or I Licked It, Now It's Mine. Because in some sense, the Damian Master character is this kind of, suburban Michigan cowboy, right? He's looking back over the shoulder at the village where his sweetheart is, and he's, riding off ahead of the posse, right? And so you get some of that. I mean, this song just nails that, right? Future Panther. And here are some lyrics to that effect. All black, always like a priest. I will wear this every day. Black jeans, black shirt, black boots, my skin marked up with truth. Deep raven and India ink, I bring my knife up to your cheek. In darkness I flicker and spit. Oh, candle, singe that rope again. I feel the reapers swarming up my arm, blacking out the image, obscuring the already adorned. A horse laid heavy in blood and flesh, that's torn, unbridled, true wild. I tame you, break you, thou art mine. I see a panther, she shows me all her teeth. Manifest in power, dig deep and cover me. I fear losing the details, the memory's so clear. Every day a step further, I fight the dream that time might steal. I drive all night. And so that is certainly American outlaw material. Those are some of my, the most memorable lyrics on the record. They're just really fun to sort of sing along to or whatever. And a few things about that. A lyric that just stands out clear on the record that even someone like me who doesn't hear lyrics can pick out. I feel the reapers swarming up my arm, blacking out the image, obscuring. That is, there's the heroin aspect, right? And it's just such a, all sorts of extreme music and punk and art rock. It's all filled with heroin stuff, right? There are good heroin lyrics and bad heroin lyrics. And this is one of the best I've heard. It's a powerful and scary image, right? And it's poetic in the sense that it sort of transmutes everyday experience, right? I feel the reapers swarming up my arm, blacking out the image. And there's this collision between the idea of the black liquid of the drug and the blackness of the reaper and death, and also blacked out tattoos, right? It's like he's getting a sleeve up his arm, which is terrifying, and yet has every single aspect of that image contains the sort of outlaw swagger that runs throughout this, even though it's reflecting on, things that I think during this recording around then that he was trying to kick, right? So, and you get this awesome sort of, very sort of very sort of shameless imagery of male sexual conquest, right? I tame you, break you, thou art mine. And then immediately toggles to an image of sort of aggressive female sexuality or just aggressive femininity in general. I see a panther, right? Big cat makes sense. She shows me all her teeth. Manifest in power, dig deep and cover me, right? He's saying that to the panther, right? To the woman as a panther. He's, saying manifest in your power, right? Dig deep and, scratch me up, babe, and cover me, right? And yeah, that sort of crystallizes a whole bunch of what's going on in this record. Okay, promise, last one. We're on Holy Death Candle. This is maybe like the heart of the record in terms of its structure. It's track 5 out of 8. And there's another part here that I really like. You'll get you'll get two of my favorite things, which are a kind of mosh rhythms and half blasts. Sort of just da 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 da, eighth note blasting. So musically, this is cool, but also listen to the lyrics and the general feeling, and think about the spiritual aspect of this record. Let's start a bit over a minute into Holy Death Candle. So that melody at the end, right? That was just, you get your half blast as a build up, right? Cranks it up with, hardcore power chords, and then it drops and you get the total rhythmic tension of a breakdown, right? The sort of sense of like the guitar sort of swelling out, lunging out beyond the drums, almost like every beat or every 2 beats, This is like a very chest thumping part of the record. Like that's literally what you should do when you listen to it. And at the same time, the melody that's the first black metal riff on the record, or, certainly by far the most black metal riff on the record. That might be the only part where you could point to it and say, yep, that's the black metal riff. At least if we're talking sort of what black metal has become, second wave and on. And what that specifically could be is that could be off The Swan Road or Blood in Our Wells or something like that, right? It's like that has the it has the sort of folky quality, the drone quality, uh, the developmental quality, and the vastness. I said quality too much. The vastness of like Drudg at their peak. And it's doing the same thing in some ways as that looping heavy metal riff from Future Panther, or even the tooth grinding Bathory thrash, right? It's that is the gates of eternity, right? And it's a place where in this song, and throughout the record it does this, but in this song in particular, there's a sort of a perspective shift or a flip from the, we talk on the show about the inside versus the outside, right? The sort of, or when I'm shitting on emo, I'm talking about how it's too subjective, too introverted, too reflective, right? Well, on this record, that part is always in touch with something bigger, right? And on this song, it really, even just with that riff, you can hear the camera pan, right? You can hear the frame of reference shift. But of course, it's not the same as Drudg, right? This is not, mighty Cossacks of Rus, or singing the praises of the bountiful harvest kind of thing, right? The lyrics here, and very often in A Pregnant Light, have this kind of Christian overtone to them. And, maybe I'll talk about that with Damian a bit in the interview. But it's something that's, I think, come up in past stuff about the band. It's that kind of sense of the outside. So maybe something the death metal guy could vibe with. So let's listen to the lyrics. In death, redemption, I hold no key. I follow the light that I cannot see. I feel it reaching, I have no fear. Manifest, appear. In death, creation reborn in beams of radiant power. And unspeakable things, all for this mercy I give myself. I sacrifice my total being, concealed in violet, encased in ancient lilac, pulled from the orchid's vein blood like lavender amethyst rain. There you get manifest again as an invocation, right? And you can't, is he talking to the girl or the lady? Is he talking to God, or Christ or something, or just the world? I have no fear. Manifest, appear in death. Creation reborn in beams of radiant power, right? There you go. It's an idea of redemption, but it's not just about making suffering whole and making everything nice, right? This is about a immediate contact with something beyond us, and access to more than human power, right? And that's access through a kind of sacrifice, right? And, it's really to unspeakable things, right? And it happens all for this mercy I give myself. Right, so there you get the image of, of course, Christ in some way wills his sacrifice, but also sort of the whole point is that he sort of passively suffers it. And it's sort of linking that Christ suffering to the Odin paradigm, right? To sort of the self. Odin he sacrifices himself to himself, right? This mercy I give myself, right? Christ sacrifices for everyone else, Odin, his sacrifice has an importance beyond himself, but he sacrifices himself to himself. This is tapping into all of that, right? It's a very, very black metal way of being kind of Christian. And Yes, self-given mercy. So, you know, that's a lyric you could think about for a long time, right? And there are a lot of those here. Uh but yeah, and this relates just to a general thing, was that one way or another, stuff from the emo lineage, whether it's, you know, screamo or emotionally colored hardcore or whatever, it's best when that introversion is turned outward. And so within that broader frame of reference. And I mean, I guess I already said that, but it was just in my notes here. Good examples of that would be Planes Mistaken for Stars, who've already mentioned. You know, they sort of, his songs about his own life become sort of like murder ballads, basically. Or, of course, Converge, right, on Jane Doe, where the lyrics are actually very kind of, there's this kind of theatrical story going on, but the lyrics are to distance it from the self, but the lyrics are very personal. But the music, right, is just like the pinnacle of inhumanity, right? That's just like, you know, hearing geometry falling on you, right? But, you know, another example of this is Jimmy Eat World, who I think are a great band, especially, yeah, I mean, back in the day. They had this thing where, you know, it's everything that's most poppy, sentimental, sort of warm and in some ways naive about emo, right? But it's always written with perspective, you know, weight of experience. They wrote those songs as grown men thinking about what it was like to be a teenager. And not really in this sense of up their own ass self-consciousness or like passive or sort of like reflection, right? Not in a classically sort of introverted way or overly sophisticated way. It was more like they could write about being a teenager in relation to this whole world that the teenager can't see. So if you think about, you know, can we take a ride and get out of this town while we still have time, right? That's like about like a teenager's looking out at the future from high school, right? And what is out there. And it's written from out there. Or the lyric that encapsulates this best is, the sweetness will not be concerned with me. All right. So finally, I want to talk a bit about the kind of characters that are integral to the music we love, right? Characters and heroes, right? So I remember when I was tangentially familiar with A Pregnant Light, probably from the very beginning. I mean, like 2011, 2012. And it got some buzz back then. It was right when the whole post-black thing was starting. And, you know, I remember at the time he called his music purple metal, which, you know, now that I understand his sort of trollish sensibility, I think I get. And I think it was also intended to say, hey, look, this ain't black metal. I'm not trying to, you know, say that, oh my God, this is the next evolution in black metal, right? So there's a kind of integrity to it and also a kind of winding people up quality to it, right? But back then I was like, what the purple metal? What the hell, right? And you look at the pictures of Damian, right? And he, you know, he's like a handsome dude with a clearly defined style. And it's all integrally related to the persona in the sort of outlaw, you know, tender-hearted outlaw persona in the lyrics, right? And it's like, who the fuck does this guy think he is? James Dean? Morrissey? You know? The guy who gets to, you know, he always gets the girl and he always, you know, he's always got to roll on and, you know, but he's still got his, he deep down inside he's wounded and he's gotta you know, he can still love and all that, right? And that can sound a little bit like just like, yeah, geez, who the fuck does this guy think he is, right? Or, you know, who, like, it can sound preposterous, right, to present yourself in that way. And that came in part because I was, you know, invested in a certain kind of black metal authenticity, well, I don't think I understood it at the time, and punk cynicism, right, which is always, if you see someone else putting themselves out there, right, too much, it's a sign of inauthenticity, right? It's a sign. You assume that whatever persona they're putting on, they haven't earned because you don't feel like you've earned it, right? Behind that cynicism, there's a defensiveness or an insecurity, right? Surely I can't be that cool. I can't be that badass dude. So surely he can't. And why would he even presume to be, right? Surely this is bullshit. And it's a preemptive defense mechanism. Punks do that all the time with all sorts of things in music. Great example would be Black Flag and Sonic Youth thinking they were very clever for mocking Venom, just because Venom had a stage show and had their hair blown back by fans because they were an English heavy metal band. The irony is, if you want working class authenticity, I'll tell you which band has it, right? It's the band who are trying to have a career. And I'll tell you which is heavier, right? Fucking Venom, obviously. Not that Sonic Youth isn't great. Black Flag, overrated. But I digress. Point being, there's a certain kind of punk cynicism that comes from a place that's not so strong, right? And as you get older, maybe you get more confident, you get more experience of the world, you start to figure things out and start to get rid of some of those reactive reflexes, right? That, define this sort of crossed arms idea, standing back idea of cool, right? Which I've never been a fan of, but, you inherit versions of it without even trying. And what this really is, what the Damian Master persona is incredibly black metal. If you approach it if you think this is emo style sincerity, right? How could this guy hard on sleeve present himself as this, romantic lead badass? Well, then you're not sure. Maybe that's a little weird, right? But it's also just totally the wrong way of approaching it. You're already buying into a certain kind of idea of authenticity that doesn't really hold water, right? Naked, confessional, emo authenticity can be bound up with certain kinds of cynicism. This is persona on the black metal principle. So black metal asks you to buy into things that seem preposterous, right? So like, yes, it is 1992. And in fact, the heroic norms of Norway in the age 850 still obtain. In fact, the gods are alive and we call them Satan. In fact, if my honor is challenged, I will react exactly like a Viking, right? And you can see Euronymous is starting this and Varg carrying it to its logical conclusion, right? And that's at the genesis of this music, right? They carried it to this crazed, transcendent intensity that, ended with, tragically, right? It's like, surely you can't be serious. And they were like, surely we are, right? Surely you can't be a Viking, maybe Euronymous didn't think Varg was quite as Viking as he turned out to be, right? And so, like, the point with all this, right, is that, like, the point is that Damian Master... It's not that Damian Master is James Dean, right? But that the Damian Master character is to James Dean as, sort of like, or Damian Master maybe the person is to James Dean, right? In this sort of like creating a character way. As Varg would have been to someone like Hakon Jarl, the last of the pagan nobles. Then who knows if he was into Hakon? It's an example. The point being that, when A Pregnant Light started, was Damian Master the person that he presented himself as? Of course not. That's not the point. It's a persona that you are moving towards, working in relation to. You're putting it on and you're drawing on its power, right? And, since this is a solo thing, I might, indulge just a little more and read something that I think relates to that. And I've probably meant to bring up on the show before. So this is a bit by Yeats from, the Irish poet, from some essays called about artistic creation and the gods and spirits called Per Amica Silentia Lunae. It's about masks. Some years ago, I began to believe that our culture, with its doctrine of sincerity and self-realization, emo, made us gentle and passive, and that the Middle Ages and the Renaissance were right to found theirs upon the imitation of Christ or of some classic hero. St. Francis, Be Nice to Birds guy, and Cesar Borgia, savagely take over Renaissance Italy guy, made themselves overmastering creative persons by turning from the mirror to meditation upon a mask. When I had this thought, I could see nothing else in life. I could not write the play I had planned, for all became allegorical. And though I tore up hundreds of pages in my endeavor to escape from allegory, my imagination became sterile for nearly 5 years, and I only escaped at last when I had mocked in a comedy my own thought. Well, whatever that means, right? I was always thinking of the element of imitation in style and in life, and of the life beyond heroic imitation. I find in an old diary, quote, I think all happiness depends on the energy to assume the mask of some other life, on a rebirth as something not oneself, something created in a moment and perpetually renewed. In playing a game like that of a child, where one loses the infinite pain of self-realization, in a grotesque or solemn painted face put on, that one may hide from the terror of judgment. Perhaps all the sins and energies of the world are but the world's flight from an infinite blinding beam. And again, at an earlier date, if we cannot imagine ourselves as different from what we are, and try to assume that second self, we cannot impose a discipline upon ourselves, though we may accept one from others. Active virtue, as distinguished from the passive acceptance of a code, is therefore theatrical, consciously dramatic, the wearing of a mask. I thought the hero found hanging upon some oak of Dodona an ancient mask, where perhaps there lingered something of Egypt, and that he changed it to his fancy, touching it a little here and there, gilding the eyebrows, or putting a gilt line where the cheekbone comes. That when at last he looked out of its eyes, he knew another's breath came and went within his breath upon the carven lips, and that his eyes were upon the instant fixed upon a visionary world. How else could the god have come to us in the forest? The point of all that, really, is that you put on masks to become them. Right? The best example of that is Iggy Pop, who will talk with a kind of rueful, mature reflection about the way that, he created Iggy Pop, James Osterberg created a character who was Iggy Pop, who was this shirtless Dionysiac maniac, right, who would do anything, and who was utterly possessed. And then, over the course of his life, he started becoming the character, right, to a degree where the character almost destroyed him. And eventually there was heroin. And eventually he, had to realize that in order to get a different kind of control over his life, right? He had achieved the extreme potency of becoming the mask, and then he had to step back and realize what had happened, right? And the limits that had carried him past. But the point is that, would Iggy Pop do it any differently in retrospect? Oh, fucking of course not, right? And we all need Iggy Pop. So the point is that in some ways, this Damian Master character that might seem so preposterous to a, dyed-in-the-wool black metal guy, or to somebody who listens to, suffocation on repeat, right? This is a mask, and it's a heroic mask, and it works exactly like the masks that, the mask that comes on with the corpse paint, right? And the idea is that clearly over time, Damian has grown into his mask and has, to a greater degree, become the mask. And that has informed who he is, right? And it has empowered him, and it has come with challenges. Oh, I hate the word empowerment. It has brought him power, right? And new challenges. And, the point is, to some extent, anyone who's interested in this kind of life, right, can put on the mask.
Open wide, even hard to please. She drives me fucking wild, and I want her on her knees. She's still denying death, denying life and every sin. She sucked me to the core, and now I can't take no more. Bitch! She turned me to a beast! Bestial Lust! Come on, bitch! And muscle reflect, she drinks my soul with greed. I fuck her helpless body, and she just raised the speed. She left her with the room, like a can control. She is on to drive me wild, and still she is open wide. Just when the torture seems to end, she is there to break my soul again. Come on, ride! To ride on me, bitch!
Hello, and welcome back to this very special episode of Terminus, recording on the next day. So today, the death metal guy couldn't make it because he said he and his wife are out gathering flowers to make a midsummer crown for their cat Moira, because she is, and I quote, the solstice princess of our hearts. Aww. Anyway, I have the honor of being here in the studio with Damian Master of A Pregnant Light and Colloquial Sound Recordings, and some other bands, including Aksumite?
I say Aksumite.
All right, cool.
Aksumite.
And so this is Damian.
Howdy, folks. How y'all doing?
Yeah, so I was thinking, we'll get to all that, usual interview stuff later. I was thinking maybe we would just start by talking metal, since it's a metal podcast, but...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and like I said, full transparency, I just listened to your review earlier today, and as I was driving over, I truly contemplated turning the truck around because, like I mentioned, I don't... no disrespect to anyone who's ever written anything about me, because a lot of them are friends or become friends and become close acquaintances, but I don't think anybody ever really got it like that. They did for sure, but it was just cool to hear. It was just cool to hear it. Frankly, it's been a few years, but nobody really got it like you did, and it was one of those things where I wondered, if I speak on it at all, am I going to diminish the awesome thing? And I made that joke to myself earlier where I said that I wanted to take what you had recorded and burn it onto CDs and then walk around and just hand them out to people as I encounter them. Hi, like this is what somebody thinks of me.
Oh man.
So thank you.
Thanks, man. That means a lot.
No, man. This is a true honor.
Well, likewise. So let's fucking
So
talk
dumb when
about
people
metal.
say true honor. It's so dumb, but it's really nice.
It's we like black metal. True honor. Yeah. So let's talk about so metal stuff. You came up in the hardcore scene. I'm gonna wildly assume.
yeah, punk and hardcore, but honestly, like,
but
metal was there too. Yeah.
Yeah. So at what point? What hooked you into it, and at what time roughly?
Do you know? I don't know if I've told this story before, but I got into black metal from a kid at church camp, and I know that sounds 100% fake. And also, I don't know. I've never seen him since church camp, and his name was James Brown. That's all.
No.
I swear.
Does he exist? You know what I mean?
I've been told that I didn't invent him. That he was there.
No, not invent. Just like sent from a higher realm.
Other people saw him as well, so there was co-hallucinations. It weren't just me. Then again, I don't know what was in those pancakes in the morning. So.
Yeah.
I do know that if you ingest large amounts of powdered eggs, sometimes black metal people appear out of nowhere.
So this is like middle of high school?
No, quite a bit earlier. Actually.
Oh shit, nice.
Yeah, actually very maybe like 99.
Were you already into punk stuff?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Like middle school times.
I can truly say that I've been into punk rock since 92.
Yeah.
Which is, I am a part of a record store. I love record store. I love record store culture. And the reason that I am that way is because I saw Nirvana on TV and I thought that they were the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And in 92, you had to go to a record store to buy records. And, luckily my folks were pretty hip and took me to a record store as opposed to like a Sam Goody or something.
Awesome. Yeah.
And just thinking they'll have that there. Who knows if they'll have it at the mall. Yeah. And I went to a record store and the single most, this I think is the biggest thing that ever changed my life was going in as a child, asking for Nirvana, and the guy selling it to me, and then me going back saying, "What else do you have?" And rather than the guy going, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, whatever, he goes, "Well, if you like Nirvana, you should listen to the bands that influenced Nirvana."
Dude.
And I was like, "Okay, like what?" And he goes, "Sonic Youth, Dinosaur Jr., The Meat Puppets, Fugazi, and I think Big Black." So
I feel like that's a jump in caliber at the end.
Yeah, for sure.
No, that's that's a higher proof.
Yeah. So I think he said Big Black. I remember I got into Big Black pretty early because it had the F word in one of their albums, so that's infinitely appealing to a child.
Yeah, it had the anime girl on the cover.
Yeah, there's a songs about fucking record, and you're just
and you're like, oh, this is for me.
There's a swear word on it. It's got to be cool. So, so I've literally been that way since the start. So, my first record was Nevermind, and then my second record was Bugged by Dinosaur Jr. And then my third record was Avol from Sonic Youth, and then I got Meat Puppets 2, and then I got I think 13 songs from Fugazi, and then I got it just all into a Black Flag. He was like, "You gotta listen to Damaged. You gotta listen to that stuff." So I am a lifelong hardcore punk, and then I got into metal just because it was aggressive. I really like the aggressive, anti-authoritarian stuff, and got into metal. Of course, thrash metal was super cool. It wasn't cool in '92. But,
certainly not. But
I didn't know.
So you got immediate. But if you're working, was it moving from hardcore to things that are relevant to hardcore? Yeah,
for sure.
For me, the first properly metal shit, I probably was. Obviously, I listened to Converge and whatnot before that, but I definitely when I got into metal, I went and got Kill 'Em All and Rain and Blood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think I had my first Metallica record was actually Master of Puppets, I think, and it was oh, this rips. And, it didn't seem that long from 86 to 92, 93. Didn't seem, even though the Black Album.
I was going to say, did you have negative associations because of the Black Album?
I don't know. I think I thought of them as two separate bands. Because I was a child.
No, that makes
You know
sense.
what I mean?
That
It's
kind of
like-
makes sense.
I was like, oh, it's like a different Metallica or something. You know what I mean?
Oh, that might as well be true, right?
Yeah, it might as well. So I got into metal, always liked metal, and then I'm guessing when you say metal, capital M, like we're on like an extreme metal.
No,
show.
I mean, I was, yeah, we want to go there eventually, but I was going
But
for
that's-
expansive.
yeah,
Whatever's
so like
part
black
of the
metal,
story. Yeah.
I went to this church camp and I started playing guitar. And there was a kid who wore a lot of black t-shirts, which I was a black t-shirt kid too.
Sure.
Still am. And much to everyone's disgust, like they're constantly like, when are you going to grow up? And I was like,
Wait, that is the grown-up look. Yours doesn't even have a graphic on it. I'm sitting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sitting.
ripping shirt though. You want to tell them what it is?
Cheers, bro. Yeah, it's I'm sitting here in a disgustingly ripped, Deviated Instinct shirt that I got at a live show.
It rules.
Yeah, sure. It's
I can smell the stench. I can feel the stench. But like got into he was into playing guitar too. So I went up to him and I was talking to him about guitar, and I asked him what kind of music he liked, and he said black metal. And I was like, I don't know what that is. I know of like Metallica, and I had a guitar teacher whose favorite band was Testament.
Yeah.
So to this day, Testament is like my all-time favorite like thrash band. They're the
Not
best.
sure I've ever heard Testament.
Is that true?
I think
yeah.
you know, there were certain tiers of like the Bay Area stuff where it's just like I read about it on the internet, so I was just like,
Yeah.
I'll skip this.
They're the band that was like everyone pretty much agrees on the fact that like Anthrax doesn't belong in the Big Four.
That's for sure true.
For number one, the fact that they're fucking goofballs, and number two, that like they're not from California. They're the oddball out there. They're the New York band. Out of 3 California bands.
That's a good point.
And it's like they were just on a major label, so they had that push.
They're the MTV band, yeah.
Yeah, and they were goofballs. So Testament really should have been that fourth position. But anyway, he was like, I mean, black metal, don't know what that is. Can you explain it to me? And I think he played Vampire, and I was totally just blown away, but not in a good way. Just like, I don't get this.
This was 99?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this would be peak time for like beginning of dark days.
Yeah, when did Cruelty and the Beast come out?
Death Metal guy would know better than me. I mean,
So
we
a
can
couple
metal
years after?
Keep talking. I'll metal archives it.
So yeah, a couple years
Yeah,
after maybe.
yeah.
So I think he played Vampire, and I was a little like shocked and horrified. Not in like a good way either. Cruelty and the Beast was
It was 898.
Yeah.
So, Vampire's a track off that. No, isn't there a cover? Yeah, it's got the two sort of
Vampire bitches.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I've told the story before, and I want to make sure I wasn't making it up, but I think he played Vampire for me, and I was like in a CD booklet that had the covers in the front. So like I pulled out the cover and had like titties on it. I was like, whoa,
oh hell yeah,
this rules. And then, but I didn't like the music. And then he was wearing a Death Crush shirt, which is super aggro for like a church camp.
And for 99 also, I feel like
Totally.
shit like that was actually forgotten. I'm
100%.
assuming that it was kind of forgotten.
And this is a kid who was maybe a year older than me.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know his backstory or how he got into it, but it was true subculture shit. You know, that's the thing that I really lament about today. And you can call me like a middle-aged boomer, or you can call me like a millennial, whatever, but like subculture is so accessible now, you know, through just like, I had to get like, it's crazy. You can walk into a record store and buy a Gizm reissue. And it was like,
yeah.
For years, I had to find someone who would make me a tape of like a tape of a tape of a tape, you know? Like, I was like, I heard Japanese hardcore is cool. Okay, how do I find this stuff? And so he was real tuned into that scene, the real classic Norwegian stuff. His favorites were Burzum, Mayhem, and Cradle Filth.
Dude, Death Metal and I gotta try to stalk this guy. We gotta figure out what.
Yeah, and you can't explain to somebody. When I had another podcast which you don't have to talk about because it doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
But we did an interview with Cradle Filth, and I had like a big thing where I was like, defending them because they're sort of like a joke now. But like, you don't understand, like in 98, 99, this was the most intense shit on the planet. Nobody knew who Mayhem was. Nobody. But Cradle of Filth was big and had distro, and they were crazy, and like,
I mean, the music does. Yeah, it's easy once you acquire a taste for this shit to think that's poppy. But like, even if you compare it to the kind of extremity and hardcore at the time, which was very, you know, I mean, you're getting like late '90s metallic hardcore
for sure,
hard shit. But like, just the level of crazy, right? Like, if you're not familiar with like here's blast beats for 6 minutes.
Yeah, and I'd never heard drums like that, which of course those drums are, you know, much hated or whatever, but like I had never heard sonically anything, or like hearing, you know, De Mysteris, like it's crazy. It's, you know, I never heard anything like it before. And so that was my introduction into metal. And then to that extreme side of metal, went to a record store, then they had Cruelty and the Beast. So I bought that because I thought it was cool and it looked cool, and I just fell in love with that record. And that's still to this day, you know, it's a top 5 black metal record for me. I know like every word on that record, and there are a lot of words on that record.
Do you think the Pregnant Light, do you think some of the Pregnant Light spirit, say having some more, being a little more sensual, having a kind of more, we talk on the show about a certain kind of various kinds of flamboyant masculinity, right? Danny Filth certainly one. I mean, maybe Danny Filth is further out on the camp side. However, he's like a certain idea of like, there's a lot of black metal, right? And I like it. In part, I like this about it, is totally sexless, right?
Right.
But like Cradle of Filth was he heard this different thing in it.
Yeah.
And there's some relation to Pregnant Light there.
It's a short king, little horn dog. I'm a big dog, little horn dog, maybe, I guess. But yeah, I mean, when I met, or I don't think we actually didn't meet Danny for the thing, but he did sign my vinyl copy of Cruelty and the Beast.
Oh yeah.
Bestial Wishes. Damian, Bestial Wishes, comma, Danny.
Dude, was he chill to interview?
We didn't interview him. He was busy, so we did the rest of the band. But
we're big Danny Filth supporters on this show. Danny, if you're listening, we have created a subscriber tier just for you. It is the tier known as "You Are Literally Danny Filth." You can find us on Patreon or Subscribestar, and subscribe at what for you would be a pittance of $50 a month to support our excellent work, where we continually attempt to rehabilitate Cradle of Filth. Anyway, continue.
A one-time fee is enough, right, Danny? It need not be monthly. Just once.
That's true. If he even did it once, we would be very happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Grand opening, grand closing, as Jay-Z would say.
Yeah. I follow his Instagram, and it makes me so happy.
Yeah, he's into like... anyway, we don't have to talk about Danny Filth.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about me, damn it.
All right.
So yeah, that's how I got into metal. And so I have that background history of being into this stuff of kind of before it was cool. And then... that was it. I didn't really dig super deep because also you got to keep in mind I'm like a growing boy, so I'm also into like Earth Crisis, and I'm also into like Nick Cave, and I'm also into Neubauten, and I'm also into like Nine Inch Nails, and I like my main thing was like skate punk. You can't explain to like a kid now how like frantic and disjointed people's CD collections were in like 1998.
I was obviously a little younger than you, but I get it. I mean, in high school, I was listening both to shit like stuff that then was very deep cut, like The Birthday Party and Killing Joke. Yeah. And I mean, it took some time to find those, but certainly well within high school was into those. And at the same time, like Black Sails in the Sunset, AFI. Yeah, right? And I also like Thursday, or
Yeah, and I also like love Christian metalcore. Like that's a thing that I love too.
Yeah, you were saying something about Zao the other day.
Zao, yeah, one of my all-time favorite bands, 100%. Yeah, so it's like it was just I'm different in the sense that like I was a rabid music guy, still am to an extent. So yeah, just a total. That was my thing into metal, and then I ended up moving all around the country. I lived in a dozen places and settled where I am, and ended up hooking up with... Sorry, hooking up is the wrong word to use. That means something else these days.
Connecting?
Meeting someone.
Platonically hooking up?
Platonically hooking up with the great John Serba. And he was really into black metal too. This is like a dude who was like at Milwaukee Metal Fest, saw the first Mayhem US performance, that kind of, he was that dude. So, yeah, these legendary lineups, and you're like, you ask how many people were there, and he was like, I don't know, 600. You know,
I
it looked like a European festival lineup. Now it was in Milwaukee in '98.
Yeah. I've seen brochures for that on the internet.
Right.
Yeah, and they're absolutely insane.
Right.
And there's something funny you realize from that is just like, you know, if you come into a scene at the right time, your band will be legendary because it's there at the right time. Every single band on the lineup is now to some degree legendary, right?
Yeah, for sure. And every single band,
and there's
on the
like
lineup,
20 of them,
right? Yeah, and every single band on the lineup could arguably headline now, especially now.
Yeah.
You know, but Anyway, so I sort of he was into that stuff, and I got into that stuff, and then that was also right around the time, late '90s, early 2000s, where there was that bubbling up and like of bands like Weakling and that sort of stuff, which I got into that stuff. And then a couple years passed down the road, and that's when like the USBM stuff, as it's called now, meaning of course I say Krieg, Draugr, Zaster, Leviathan.
You wouldn't count Weakland with that? Different generation.
It was
earlier.
just predated a little bit.
Okay, fair enough.
I think that they were the father. I think they were the father, and like Zaster's the son, or literally Leviathan's the son. You know.
Yeah.
So, so then that thing kind of popped off, and that really kind of got me interested in metal again. But I was always interested in it, but I was always playing in punk and hardcore bands, and as the thing fast forwards to like 2010-ish, like I was in a couple of really cool hardcore bands that were probably on mark to go places and do things.
What were the bands? I mean,
I'm not here to talk about those motherfuckers. I'm here to talk about me.
All right.
And so I was in some cool hardcore bands. We're on a place to do some cool things, and you know, they fell apart for the same reasons that many bands do, which are like, well, we can either tour 10 months out of the year and become like Madball or Comeback Kid or Hatebreed, just like, hey, where do you live? Like that van over there, you know, or I can get married and have children and do whatever. And like a lot of those dudes decided the latter. So it kind of left me with my dick in my hand, so to speak. Because honestly, and I've said this before too, like I would totally be happy just like playing guitar in like a mid-level hardcore band. I'd be happy with that.
I mean, so you enjoy playing live. Like
I do, yeah.
Differently from a lot of one man bands. Or I was talking to someone yesterday who was like, I started playing music one man and only later learned to appreciate playing in a band. Or like
live APL thing is the number one. The number one thing. It literally keeps me up at night. It literally keeps me up at night. So super stressed out about it because I think that that's what's. When I talk to people about like APL and they're like, "What? Why doesn't APL like?" break through the next level? Because you got to keep in mind, like, this all sounds like corporate, whatever bullshit talk, but it's like, let's be honest here, there's levels to this shit. You know what I mean? There's
yeah, for sure.
Bedroom demos or whatever. They're like, you obviously are capable and have the ability to do it. Like,
yeah, it's like
why don't you take it to the next
getting
level?
booked at a mid-level festival, playing a large bar of a certain kind.
Yeah, like, why don't you play a 400 cap room? You know, like that's not a bad place to be.
No.
You know, it's like, I would like to play to 250 people in Des Moines on a Thursday night. I have no problem with that. It's selling out. And the live thing was just like, it's where the band has to go. It's
interesting.
It's absolutely the number one thing on my mind is like, everyone was like, live shows need to happen, live shows need to happen, live shows need to happen. So it's like, it literally keeps me up at night.
So what are the obstacles to that?
Who?
Well, you've got people you play with now, but is it more in those other in those other bands, right? Like,
I mean,
Aksumite?
Barely. Yeah, I mean,
but that's sort of like informal. They can't tour with you,
right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
The thing about like being in a band is like you got 5 guys that you're essentially like married to. You got to get 5 guys on the same page, and then there's got to be chiefs and there's got to be Indians. It's hard to find. Obviously, I'm the big general of the organization, so you got to find 4 soldiers who want to march into battle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I say that, just to do the analogy, it's not like a corny metal thing. Like Marduk says, like, we march to battle on stage every night.
It can be that. I mean, to be fair, Marduk does.
Maybe one of the few. Maybe one of the few that really does.
Yeah. My nose and cornea can attest to that.
Yeah, I've seen them, a half dozen times. And it's just truly some Panzer Division shit.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Yeah, but no, fair point.
So. But I am working on it to an extent. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. Because it's easy to just make music. And it's easy to just write and record and put stuff out. But I think taking it to the next level taking it to the live shows will get it to that next level. Because I am interested in doing that.
Okay.
I don't want to just do the same thing over and over again. Like, I want to progress as an artist. I want to progress as a musician. I think I have. It's pretty obvious that I have. People get on the train. People get off the train. That happens too, which I'm fine with. But I think bringing it in front of people is really, and I've had no shortage of people asking for it, and I've had no shortage of people encouraging me to do it. It's just like, maybe I need to just do one of those like Dillinger Escape Plan did. Like, we need a singer. Like,
well, dude, do you want to do it? Do you want to do it now? We've got some listeners.
Yeah. Hey, if you can play guitar or drums or bass or whatever, I'm easy to find. Yeah, maybe it needs to be that. Honestly.
I mean, why not? I mean, like a bunch, bunch of chill ass people listen to this show.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a capable musician and wish to like play these festivals and play with these bands and tour with these people, like, yeah, maybe this is my hat in hand moment of like, come aboard. Like,
yeah, hell yeah.
I'm a pretty normal dude.
We strongly support full band lineups, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so like,
you'll never be in the studio with me. But a lot of people love that. A lot of people love it.
Because it must be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, they want to like show up to the gig, have a couple beers, hang out with some people, travel, see some cool places, rock the gig. That's it. Like, they don't want to be in the studio with me while I'm obsessing over how to make a part sound more like Johnny Marr. You know what I mean? And more Discharge at the same time. Like, how to make it sound more like Discharge and the Smiths at the same time.
Oh, do you like Miserable Lie? That song by the Smiths?
Yeah.
Because like, that's I still am wondering, were they intentionally copying a Motorhead or Disbeat? Because it was right around the time.
No.
Yeah, probably.
I can say with fair certainty, no.
But it really does work that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, here's the deal. Music, obsessive music guy that I am, I bet what they were channeling were the Buzzcocks. And the Buzzcocks are the first people on record to have the what is now the D beat.
Really?
And in
I
fact,
I've never barely ever listened to them.
Discharge said they got the beat from the Buzzcocks.
Holy shit.
So
the only other place you can source it to is I Got It Right by the Stooges.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure it's exactly the same, but it's basic.
The Buzzcocks thing is the D beat.
Interesting.
Totally. And then Motorhead got it from Discharge.
Yeah. Did Motorhead literally get it from
I believe
Discharge?
so.
I was just thinking about that the other day.
You see Lemdog in Discharge shirts all the time.
That's awesome.
They sounded different before they heard Discharge.
No, I mean, well, so where does Overkill fall in that then? Because like, right? Because they get the obviously that record's like two different bands on the same record, right? They have the boogie songs, which are whatever, and then they have like Overkill, which is like maybe their best song
for sure.
And like that's got
how many times can that song end?
I love
it's great.
Infinite riff.
Yeah, it's great. It's just
dude. I mean, so that song, right? They've got the double pedal kick, and it's doing the same rhythmic thing as a D beat. Basically, it's this kind of syncopated
just
1-2
kick drums.
Yeah. So do you think they got that before? Do you think that's from Discharge, or do you think they got that on their own?
I think it's what happens when you mix Discharge with uppers.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's So we're on a good train of thought then. Because the thing I talked about in the review is, the influence in this sort of, Unbroken Play in particular, but you can hear it on, certainly on other A Pregnant Light recordings, especially like the new one. I liked it, now it's mine, right?
Yeah.
Is even though the music has a lot of the textural qualities and the sort of melodic qualities that you associate with black metal from second wave on, and especially from the 2000s on, right? It's,
True.
Even though it's got all that, right, the real bass is coming from stuff like Bathory that taps in directly to Motorhead and to Discharge.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said it totally right in the review, rather. I don't know why I said review. In the review. You get on microphone and start saying silly stuff. But, in the review, I think you totally got it. And like you said, the thing, like when you're talking about the infinite riff, like that, you know, and hopefully the seriousness of the review is not undone by us just two dudes hanging out being goofy. If anything, hopefully it endears it to your listeners who aren't familiar with the record, because the review makes it sound like I'm like Nick Cave fighting journalists strung out and, you know, punching people in the street, which I'm not going to say that I wasn't there, but I'm not there now.
Yeah. You do still sort of have the haircut.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't think I didn't adjust it a few times before I came in and checked it.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Well, you know, you got to look good. You got to look good for everybody.
Understood. Yeah. No, it is true. He has a consistent. He is in full Damian Master. There is no inconsistency.
Do you know what
here.
sucks about that?
What?
I can't escape it. I wake up and I'm this way. I'm just extra all the time.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It's punishing to be me. It's just,
and you always had that kind
there's
of...
There's no sweatpants staying in.
I was going to say, I'm literally in gym shorts.
You're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
But I'm out of uniform. But
there's no athleisure version of Damian.
Yeah.
It's full on like boots, chains.
And thus has it always been?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a serious man.
Were there so fashion icons, Morrissey,
I don't really,
James Dean, I don't know.
Yeah,
but the specific boots and black thing is different from both of those.
It is. It's my own. It is my own take on it, which again sounds egotistical and crazy. But I've always, if punk taught me anything, it's be yourself. Do what you think is cool. And I've run with that to this day. I will not do something if I don't think it's rad, you know, or I won't give in. And I even see, like, especially in hardcore, you see a lot of, like, hardcore kids are the worst trend hoppers.
Oh my God, the worst. Like,
on the planet. Like, fashion, whatever, like,
it was so disillusioning.
Yeah, they'll be trying to change the cut of jeans they're wearing all the time, the way they wear their hoodie, even, like, the size of t-shirts. Like, you'll see... You know, we used to see guys, you know, obviously like in metalcore, everyone was wearing a shirt 2 sizes too small.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was a brief period where everyone wore the correct size shirt, and now everyone's wearing a shirt 2 sizes too big. It's fine. I literally do not care. It doesn't matter to me, but like, to me, like, a vibe and aesthetic is important. Like I tell people, I wear the same thing every day. I literally wear this every day. I have no other outfits. I tell people it's like a priest or a prisoner.
How many versions of each garment do you have?
I've probably got like a half dozen or 8 shirts.
Mm-hmm.
And then because I'm punk, I spent a majority of my life, a vast majority of my life, 1 pair of black jeans. Respect, right?
Yeah, respect.
So, and living in constant mortal terror of the crotch blowout, which was inevitable.
Yeah.
It's inevitable. It happens. And, I recently, in the past like 2 years, have discovered that as an adult, well into my 30s, that it is financially feasible for me to have 2 pairs of pants.
Holy shit!
So,
luxury.
So what I've done is this is kind of groundbreaking. When I went to the store to purchase these jeans, what I did was I grabbed 2 pairs. And identical in every way.
Yeah, sure.
And I rotate them every other day. And, you know, it's a big deal for me. And so, although they look the same, I assure you they're the same brand, but I do have 2 pairs of pants now.
Awesome. Yeah, my current pair is acquiring the smell.
Right.
It's
Do you ever throw them in the freezer?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it kills the smell.
Yeah, it's
a punk trick.
I might do that in a sec.
Yeah. Throw them in real quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna go throw these jeans in the freezer.
Yeah, I'll man the show for a while.
Yeah, all right. Talk about Bathory.
Okay, Bathory. Well, I got into Bathory probably pretty quick and early on because they were ubiquitous. They were also one of the few bands that had distribution with stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You could get Bathory records, you could get Venom records, you could get Cradle Filth records. So Bathory was a very early influence. And then when the hardcore band started falling apart and I was interested in doing this black metal thing, I was very inspired by Burzum, which, of course, I'm sure that snippet will be cut and taken out of context by somebody at some point. You know what the fuck I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dear person in the future trying to be mad at me. Very inspired by Bursum, very inspired by Bathory, very inspired later on by things like Iljarn. To do the one man thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm not gonna lie, like in the early, mid 2000s, 2010, 2011, like that was kind of the cool thing to do.
Yeah.
It was a very hip proposition to be a one man solo Korthon type guy. And I saw that, and I saw that it became cool, and I saw that it became a thing, and I saw that it was absolutely like everyone was doing it.
And you're like, I'm fed up with bands. Why not do this?
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, this is even past that. Like, I was just fed up with bands, and I was like, I can finally do this on my own. If you listen to like my most recent release, and you listen to like my first release, it's a million miles apart. But as it should be. But that whole explosion of one man black metal. And again, you talked about. We don't have to cover it because you covered it so well in the review. The whole like. Me consciously not calling it black metal, consciously calling it purple metal, out of like respect for Celtic Frost and respect for Hellhammer and respect for Bathory. How dare I bring my like Earth Crisis bullshit into your sacred arena? You know what I mean? Into your temple. Yeah. Like that's the kind of music fan that I am. Is like a genuine like appreciator of the art. And so, by me...
Yeah, you want it to be what it is.
Yeah, and like, of course, was I being a sassy bitch by calling it purple metal? Yes.
Yeah, I totally think... I'm not sure I originally got it back in 2012.
Because I am a sassy little bitch. Yeah. And so... But also, like, I didn't... But I'm not Antaeus, cut your flesh and worship Satan. I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, so it felt... Because the punk part of me felt that to do that would be so disingenuous. And seeing these fucking... bullshit kids corpse painting in the forest doing this black metal cosplay thing when they're not that. Like, you're not a vampire. Yeah. You're not whatever. Nobody knows anything about the LLN guys, and that's perfect. Because you don't, maybe they are vampires. I don't know. They're definitely dorks.
As they should be.
Yeah, as they should be. Like, for sure.
The whole point is, being a dork and carrying it to its making everyone wiping the smile off everyone else's face.
Right? Yeah, sure. And that's why.
You're not smirking now. Dungeons and Dragons is the law of the land.
Yeah, and that's why we love that stuff. Yeah. Vermipure Commando, especially in my heart, is the number one thing out of that crew. Mm-hmm. But I'm not that dude, and so that was what pushed me to start putting myself on the covers of the albums, to not having paintings or abstractions or a high-res black and white photo thing, because it just felt embarrassing. So, like, again, I don't want to give away too much of my whatever, but a friend of a friend. Well, no, Fenris is a friend of a friend.
Okay, yeah.
One of my very best friends is very best friends with Fenris. It's weird.
Cool.
So we've had some connections there. There's some things I'll tell you off air.
Yeah.
That's cool. But and again, I don't know if this is public domain, and if it is, Fen, get mad at me. Gilva, I'm sorry. But I think like recently he lost the Transylvanian hunger picture. Or he's in the process of trying to find it or whatever. But like and again, this may be some inside baseball shit, so sorry if I'm giving away a secret, but I think his dad took the picture. So,
like, just as memorabilia, or
somebody had to take the picture.
Oh, took the photo. Yeah.
His dad took the photo. Yeah, of like his son painted up, holding a candelabra.
Well, a lot of the parents were pretty supportive of that scene.
Yeah,
I remember hearing that like Euronymous' parents like read Nietzsche with them.
Yeah, and so like again, I don't know if that's like out of pocket or I should be repeating that story. Mm-hmm. So maybe if you're listening, don't repeat that story. But because I know Fenris' father passed away and it hit him pretty hard. So I'm sure that there's an element of him wanting to find that photo. But like to me, it's like I didn't want to be that guy that had his mom taking a photo of him with holding the invisible oranges and corking those, because it's disingenuous. It's not who I am. You're a grown-ass man, too.
So, you know, in some way, I know your discography backwards, right? Like,
Sure.
I'm sure I clicked on some shit back in the day, but the point I started to really become aware of it was probably 2017, 18. I got an idea of, like, that's when I was like, oh, this guy really listens to black metal, you know, as I said.
Yeah, that was a huge compliment in the review, by the way.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
It's, yeah, so that's when it sort of, like, started paying more attention. I was, like, on Bandcamp a lot then, right? And so, you know, you find your way to it and you follow it, and but like so I don't know your old shit. How has the sound changed? Well, like, I'm guessing that even back then it would not have been plausible to present a corpse painted picture of you.
No, and it was
like, did it always have that kind of the sort of more emo chording? Or?
No, it was much more lo-fi.
Okay.
Much more harsh.
Okay.
Everything was like real coated in reverb and distant and crunchy. And then the way that I decided to break from that, it was to be like, okay, and I failed for many years at getting better at recording, get better and clearer sounds, or whatever. But I was like, okay, if everybody wants to be obscured by fog and haze and whatever, maybe I step into the light. Yeah. Maybe that's the way that you become subversive, is you write a hook. You write a catchy part. Like, I remember when I put out Stars Will Fall, which was probably 2012 or 13 or whatever. And I was like, it's like a fist pumping, like, rock riff, you know? And it was like, yeah. And they were those fist pumping rock riffs in black metal.
Exactly, but they're the things people forget about.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, there's the fucking, like, there's the fucking windmill breakdown on, like, numbers of songs on Demasiris.
Right. Totally. You know? Totally. Right. And there's, like, two-step hardcore parts on that record.
Yeah, no, it's a mosh record.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
and like,
yeah. No, mosh. No,
the only band that never...
Mosh, fun. No Scott Burns.
Right, yeah, the only band that never really did that was, like, Immortal, if you think about it. Emperor, I was never an Emperor guy, because, I liked regressive music, not progressive music. I liked it, but Emperor never really did, or Immortal never really did that.
Emperor, yeah, the first black metal record I got, was a lucky find, or CD I got, was the Horde Land Split. So okay. I got like, right at exactly the right time. I got sounds like Discharge, but about Miltonian Satan.
Yeah, and, I did Wrath of the Tyrant.
Exactly, that shit is sick. I mean, and that actually does have mosh parts. Night of the Graveless Souls in particular.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
So early stuff we can go back.
I think your point that Immortal is also Dissection, right? You know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Like, those are bands that are clearly conceive themselves always as metal bands.
And Dissection, I think just the level, is it Note Fight?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, we were talking earlier about neither of us know how to pronounce any of the things that we like. No. Is it Akitsa? We don't know. Is it Drudka? Is it Drudk? Do you say the H? We don't know. So, like, I think Note Fight was obviously a genius. No one's going to debate me on that.
Yeah.
So just a super talented guy. So I think his vision was spot on from the beginning. And it was funny also to see Rain Chaos get the Smashing Pumpkins Adore treatment, which was to say, maligned in its day, 10 years pass, you know, Pitchfork and other media publications go back to Adore by Smashing Pumpkins, and they're like, oh, it's his pseudo Peter Murphy record. Like, this actually was ahead of its time, and we didn't like it then, but we like it now, and he was ahead of his time. And I think Billy blew a lot of goodwill by, like, going, see, I told you, as opposed to being like, yeah, thanks everyone, like, thanks for finally digging the record. And I think I saw that happen with
that
Rain
is a natural
Chaos.
Yeah.
I saw him with Rain
Wait,
Chaos.
do you think it has been rehabilitated? Because we talk about that on the show sometimes.
Yeah, you mentioned it a couple times, and I almost was like, where do I call in? You know, where's the hotline?
That's the next step. So tell us, who's been speaking well of Rain Chaos? Because
I mean, it's been a few years ago, but I think that, like, I have seen it. You know, will I name names? No, because I'm not a snitch. But I don't give names on people. But I think that, yeah, time has been kind to that record. It was hated when it came out, but now you have people that fuck with Rain Chaos. But I think the people that, I'm speaking very low now, because I don't want to say anything, because I think a lot of people that like Rain Chaos are, like, newer kids.
Yeah.
Who maybe their introduction to metal was like Slipknot or Mudvayne or something like that.
And what they're listening to now is hyper melodic black metal that often sounds like heavy metal or pop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and those kids often, they even go off the deep end. Like, they'll even like now come up to you and just be like, do you have this like Brazilian record? It's like, no, nobody has that record. No, because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. No. You know, I remember one of my favorite record store stories. I won't tell many of those, but a guy, this is what the internet has done to people. And we have an amazing store, and hands down the best store in the state, and I feel confident saying that. Somebody comes in and goes, we have the whole store separated out by genre. Very micro.
Yeah.
Like punk and hardcore. We've got metal, rock, jazz, blues, electronic, krautrock.
Damn.
Electronic, industrial, post-punk, R&B. Did I say jazz? Jazz, not neo-folk. Folk section, bluegrass. The point is, you find the vein, you tap into that vein, you know?
Do you want to tell people the name of the store?
It's Vertigo Music.
Grand Rapids.
Yeah. Yes. Pull up.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to fight any of you. And if you win, I'll give you $1 off each record. You won't win, but I'll still give you $1 off each record. Just use discount code Terminus at the register, and just say discount code Terminus, and we'll take care of you.
Oh yeah.
But where the fuck was I going with this? But the kids are innocent. Somebody comes in and goes, "Where's your French chill wave?" And
wait, that's real?
Yeah.
Somebody actually asked French chill wave.
I think it's like a Tumblr thing, like from 2012 or something.
No, chill wave I remember, but I didn't know that there were.
Yeah,
I didn't know we got to it existed only on the internet. How are there regional variants?
Yeah, he wanted to know where our French chill wave section was. At which point I go, we don't have one. Well, and he just about faces and walks out the store. We've got 20,000 new records in stock and CDs, mostly LPs, like 80% LPs. And it's like my coworker looked at me and was like, there's nothing we can do to that one. That's a lost soul. Like, if you walk into our store and you can't find something, you have a problem. But it's like, just walked in, French chill wave, walk right out.
Dude, French chill wave section, oh yeah, you go out of this door, you walk around behind the building, and it's back in the dumpster.
Yeah, it's, it's like, I contemplated giving him directions that were like Beowulf-esque. You know what I mean? Yeah, here's what you must do to find the French chill wave section. Which they probably would have loved. But
anyway. I don't know. But if he likes French chill wave, I don't know if he can hang with Beowulf. It's yeah, there's that
Beowulf del Gripen Grendel.
Oh yeah, there's that whole part where he's gotta it's like basically a video game. He's got to make his way along a ledge over a lake filled with water monsters in order to get to the part of the lake where he needs to dive in and fight Grendel's mom.
Right, yeah.
That's some real shit.
That was really what was going on in my head as I was like, do I tell this fool, give him some Beowulf instructions to get to the French section? But I think Grand Chaos has been reevaluated well. But what's next on deck? We're talking about
I don't know. Yeah, we were. So I think, we've covered sort of like varieties of black metal that people would normally associate with your stuff. We've talked about purple metal. Okay, well, you've touched some on the trajectory of the band. What about building Colloquial Sound? Because is that is that all your own projects? Mostly. Mostly.
The vast majority, yeah. And I'll put it to you this way. If I didn't do it, I've got my grubby little hands all over it.
Yeah.
In one way or the other. Usually in art or design, but here's the deal too. It's
the aesthetic is very consistent.
Yeah, because it's all me. Because it's all me. Because here's the thing: is what was I going to say? I'm trying to think of like an example. I mean, I guess your listeners are smart; they can think of their own example. But like when you buy something from me, it's not only like I like doing mail order. It's not only pulled off the shelf, packed, I write a little thank you note a lot of times, and sent out to me. Like, not only is like that the DIY part of it, like I wrote it, I recorded it, I designed it. Because I got into the shit in 2008 or 9, before tapes were a thing, I got all of this high-end, super nice tape duplication equipment for a song. I do all the tapes myself, do all the artwork, do all the layouts. I print them myself, get them laser cut by like a local shop that was like, you want to do what? What's a J card? And then there was one guy in the back who was like, I know what a J card is. And I was like, okay, cool. Can you help me build a template? And he was like, for what? And I was like, for a J card. He was like, oh, I was thinking about J cards meaning like the inserts for cassettes. And I was like, yes. And he was like, can you run that by me one more time?
When was this roughly?
2010.
Yeah, for sure. It's right when it was. Yeah.
2010. And, I'd still been buying tapes and stuff before then, like grindcore shit and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just like when I started doing it, putting it out, it was like people were just like, what?
For sure.
Now little children look at CDs and they go, what is this? A child will recognize a vinyl LP before they recognize
the CD. Is, the CD got because it was liminal. It was like transitioning, between.
But it's coming back too because tapes.
The Hessian firm guys swear by the CD.
Yeah.
Like that. I think it's mostly because it's like this is what death metal came out on back in the day.
For sure.
I think some of them insist that it has better sound quality, but
in many ways it is a superior format.
You think?
Truly, yeah. It's awesome. I mean, if you have a vinyl, that's a vinyl. Who says a vinyl? If you have a record, I was going to say if you have a system to play vinyl that is tuned proper, the correct stylus, you have your anti-skating, everything fit up right, so you're not creating all this extra surface noise. Yes, vinyl.
No, you'd say record. No, I'm saying Hessian firm prints CD, does CDs.
But what I'm saying is like, but your average run-of-the-mill CD.
Oh, your average run-of-the-mill CD is better than your average record.
Better than the shitty equipment you're playing your vinyl, especially playing on a Crosley.
Yeah.
Or whatever else. So you have to have a nice system to get the record to sound good.
They're also, the systems are incredibly finicky. I've had a proper record set up for... then you have to go buy a fucking player. But it's like, I respect people who are hard copy only people. There are definitely people who follow the show who are hard copy only people.
Yeah,
there's a whole tier of labels that are like that. But it's like, in terms of just like, I'm terribly organized. I never buy myself things. And so, it's like, I have a record player. I had a record player for my dad. It broke.
Right.
So I had a nice period of my life where I could listen to records. And then at the end, the record player starts getting weird and it gets this nice hum in it. When you're listening to techno, that sounds good. But nothing else.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, it's like, so like I sometimes have a tape set up.
Yeah.
Records.
But to answer your question, building a label, it's me, it's awesome because I can do whatever I want to do. I can do it however often I want to do it. I'm not beholden to anyone else. I'm not beholden to anyone else's scheduling. I don't have to play ball by that. Again, the further on I move in my quote unquote career, maybe it would be nice to be on another label at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm open to that.
Yeah.
Nobody has anything good to say about it, but I'm different, right? That's what everybody else says. My label actually likes me. They're not going to fuck me over.
Yeah. Well,
and again, I have a couple friends who are like in the actual music industry, not the music industry that we're in. No disrespect. If you're, I know it's awesome if you're in a band that's playing Hellfest and you have a bunch of screaming metalheads at you, but you still have to go home and manage an Amazon warehouse or whatever. That's okay. I have no problem. That's in fact an honorable thing to do.
Yeah, for sure.
But actual music industry people that I have, because I used to work in the music industry, the real
like with pop people.
Correct. Yeah. They look at my metrics and they look at everything. They see what I'm doing. First of all, they're all blown away that anything is like DIY. To them, they have artists who have to be quite literally physically escorted from the hotel room to sound check because they're just space cadets. Not because they're Gigi Allen, but just because they're just I make music blah blah blah. And it's well, how do I what do you mean sound check? Or it's well, how do I play my music live? And they just don't know how to do it because they've never done it.
Because they're brought into the system from a very early age.
Totally. Or they make a thing on Fruity Loops and it blows up, and then they're now all of a sudden they have a deal from Interscope, and they're just oh, and then I'm in a studio for the first time. And you're Billie Eilish records in her bedroom.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So the people that I know that are in the music industry, they look at what I'm doing and they're just they say over and over again, they're you don't need a record label. You need they said you don't need a record label. You need a booking agent. The guy was like, you put out your own? He's like, I saw this guy. He goes, let me get this straight. You record your own music, design it, you press the records, you sell the records. What the fuck do you need someone else for? And I was like, well, it might be cool. That's nice. Nice to have a cosign from somebody else.
Yeah.
Whatever else.
Bigger reach.
Yeah, bigger reach or whatever. And he was just like, you need a booking agent. It's like, you don't need a label. And I think he's probably got some truth there. So yeah, maybe Terminus people.
Yeah.
I can get a booking agent.
Yeah. All right. So he needs, but that would come along with the band, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's like this is something that I imagine a lot of people listening know this, but like, I definitely did not know for a long time that in terms of the practical end of the music industry, like playing shows it was always where the money was to some degree, but it's completely where the money is now, and especially for DIY stuff. It's
totally,
and it's how you get people to know about your band. The internet's great, but if you want any
but there's 1,000 new bands every day, and I don't think that may be a soft number.
Yeah. My mom once looked at me, and my mom once told me like, there are too many bands. And at the time I was like, oh, Mom.
She said it like earnestly.
Yeah, oh, Mom, you're just nostalgic for when everyone liked the Beatles. Right. And, she was just probably giving me shit about the music I liked. Fair enough, Mom. But like, looking back, I'm like, I often think, she was right.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So, and the other thing, too, about these bands and stuff like that, like, how many bands pop up every day that do 1, 2, maybe 3 demos. They put out 1 record, and it's like, that's the thing about bands too, and like building the label and having CSR be a thing. Obviously, it's Colloquial Sound Recordings. It is obviously a joke.
Yeah, I can tell.
But you don't, because I was like, what's the most pretentious name for a label? Colloquial Sound Recordings. But then it just kind of, then I kind of started putting stuff out, and I put out earnest music, and the music isn't a joke. There's humorous elements to the music, which I think you tapped on. Yeah. Like, that's the thing too, is like, a lot of people don't get about APL. They're kind of confused. Yeah, because most metal is sexless and humorless and whatever. They don't get that, like, you're supposed to be smiling and laughing. Yeah. It's not They Might Be Giants. It's not goofy, like, clever for but there is a sense of dark humor to everything.
It's like the Smiths,
right?
And exactly. You take it to some, you can take it to a more earthy place than the Smiths,
for sure.
Like, it's a different vibe, right? But it's,
yeah. So
it's a similar idea.
Yeah. So there's that whole element of, we're getting off track here, but yeah, it's just, your listeners are going to go nuts. They're like, you were talking about this, and now you got off about something else.
I think this is probably what they want.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But yeah, so it's just one of those things, like, the label came in at a time. Oh, we're talking about sales and stuff like that. Label came in at a time.
Yeah, sales, label versus live.
Yeah, label versus live. Yeah, the label came in at a time when it was super cool, super hot. I didn't have to play live. So the opportunity came up, or whatever, or even like other people were interested, or other labels were interested, or poking around. I, was like, no, this is fine. Like, I'm doing this on my own. Like, I'm selling 300 or 400 tapes of each one, and it's like crazy numbers of tapes. I don't sell that many LPs now.
People don't press that many tapes.
Hell no, I don't sell that many LPs now.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And that's supposed to be the dominant king, take my band seriously format is an LP. Like a Dress and Streams record that I released. Like, it's a fucking beautiful thing on the planet.
It is a beautiful record. I own it.
Yeah, and I try to make all the records like this, where you open them up and you're like, oh, this is beautiful. Maybe the music sucks dick on it, but you're like, it's well done. It's beautiful.
So in terms of like sales and trajectory, so like why is APL less big now? Why is it selling less now than it used to be? Because I have no idea if the band's. Obviously there was this moment.
Shall I get another beer for this?
For sure. The press had its moment around fucking American black metal, one-man black metal that surprisingly sounded pretty, whatever.
Right.
It's sure. And so there was that moment for it. So I get that there was maybe a period where it was bigger or something.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, this is something I've been trying to be a little more candid about recently.
Okay, for sure.
Because it's like, it's cool and like, did your day in the sun? I wonder oftentimes, like, did your day come and go? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, did your as we're sitting here, like, both using You using a lighter, me using a knife to open beer.
Yes.
This is primitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think here's the deal. It's like I said earlier. I say this to myself to like, so I don't have like a nervous breakdown. But like, people get on the train, people get off the train. You know, there are a lot of people who have been listening for 10 plus years. There's a lot of people who don't listen anymore.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who come on new all the time, and the catalog is so big. 90 some releases on the label. However many APL, quite a few. I'm not Marky Smith in the Fall. I'm not Robert Pollard and Guided by Voices, but I've got a lot of songs out.
Yeah,
There's a lot. And so I think people get on the train, people get off the train. The music, I think, has grown exponentially in quality, and it's better than it's ever been. One cool thing that popped up when you said, I don't know what old APL sounds like. Years ago, somebody said on like a message board that reminded them of Earthfaust, like early Earthfaust.
Oh, early Earthfaust, I think, jumped the shark hard, but their early shit was cool.
Yeah. And so I had never heard Earthfaust in 2011. I had not.
They used to be used to be a cult name drop, and they were such a cult name drop on like Blogspot.
Right.
And
exactly.
Shit,
That's
where
this happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And then it ended up with me checking out Earthfaust, digging Earthfaust, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Jim from Earthfaust reaching out, like, "Hey, I heard your band. You guys are pretty cool." So now we trade. Yeah. Whenever I've got a new release or I've got something new coming out, I send it to Jim, and then Jim will send me the new Earthfaust stuff. It's awesome. Yeah. So I love that band. I think they're super cool. I think Earthfaust and APL have a similar trajectory of like, you know, whether you're a fan of what they're doing now or not, they are doing whatever the fuck they want. Yeah. They are not tapped into what people are interested in. As demonstrated by the fact that their last 2 records don't have guitar on.
I don't think I've heard anything by them for 5 years. Yeah, the thing I heard 5 years ago sounded more like normal melodic black metal.
Sure.
I wanted the drunk wizard hurdy-gurdy shit.
Right. And again, like...
Yeah.
I think they might be going back to that, maybe.
Hell yeah.
I don't say too much. But
also, if it's all electronic, that almost in some ways is closer.
Dude, because they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
They do not give a fuck. Like, they don't care. They just want to make new shit that they think is cool.
Yeah.
You know? And they just released a gin. Teufelgeist, their own, like, gin. It sells out instantly. It rules.
Is it actually, is it good? Because a lot of bands do these things and it's like, oh, God. How's the gin?
I don't know. Gin's fine. It's gin. I like gin. Gin is probably my favorite liquor. I don't know.
Oh, that makes sense. You would be a gin guy. Yeah.
Gin and tonic. There's been a lot of APL songs about drinking gin and tonic.
Gin is the sort of the like it's the curveball of liquors.
Yeah, I like whiskey too.
Yeah, there are a lot of cool girls who like gin, right?
It's been my experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a refreshing summer drink. Like a gin and tonic is like on a hot summer day, man. Should we go get a gin and tonic after this?
Hell yeah, bro.
Let's do that.
Yeah. So, there's certainly those can be found. So, we were doing like okay, so
but yeah, sorry, not to finish that, but yeah, like people get on the train, people get off the train. My point is, I've been doing this for 10 years. I swear to God, I'm gonna do it for another 10 years, and then after that 10 years, I'm gonna do it for another 10 years.
Hell yeah.
And then after that 10 years, I will most likely die. I feel like I got maybe, I don't know, because my dad died at 62, and I had significantly worse habits than he did, and I've abused my body far worse than he ever did. So if I die, if I make it to as far as my dad did at 62, I am past middle age, my dude. So like, there's an element of me like going and releasing so much stuff and putting out music, because it's like I spent my 20s in these bands like with other people saying like, we're gonna do this, and then they never did it. We're gonna put this out, and they never did it. We're gonna tour, we're gonna go this, we're gonna do this, and they never did it. And then you wake up an old fucking man. Yeah. So I'm just like, yo, I don't give a fuck. I will hang out, and I'm interested in like youth culture. I'm interested in young kids. That sounds bad. Do not take that out of context with the I like Burzum.
Not in the Miko Aspa way.
Yeah. It's not like Damian Master. I like little kids. I like Burzum.
It's the inner child.
Yeah, but I fuck with youth culture heavily. Yeah. I want.
Oh, as in like you. Yeah. So
I want to know what young kids are into.
Yeah,
it's interesting to me.
there's totally something like that. You're still tapped into what's happening in music and culture.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people check out.
100%.
And sometimes it's cool. Like, if you're fucking Necro Butcher, I swear that guy probably just listens to, like...
The Beastie Boys CD? You ever see that interview?
No!
Where he says the only music he listens to is a Beastie Boys CD?
God, that's even more galaxy brain than I thought.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like,
he says
Tenderaki and Venom.
No,
but,
he says he literally only listens to the Beastie Boys. That rules.
What a goon.
Literally took the word out of my mouth. He's an absolute goon.
What a fucking goon.
Yeah. What's your favorite band? Like a white Jewish rap group from New York?
Dude, last summer I heard a dude like rolling into town from the freeway on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Just blasting the Beastie Boys.
Sick.
Yeah, and he didn't...
Sick.
Yeah, and he was a, like, straight leather biker, right?
Sick.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
Sick vibe. No, but I'm into, like, youth culture, and, like, to the point where I'll come in contact with, like, through the store or just, like, at the library or whatever, like, oh, man, this is going to sound so fucking bad. Do not take this out of context either. I'll, like, corner a 16-year-old girl and be like, can I see your, like, Spotify? Can I see, like, what? And they are like, what? Like, they're horrified. Like, I'm not in a weird way, or whatever.
Well, you work at a record store. It's easy. You're talking to people all the time.
Yeah, but also I pull up on a girl in the library or something like that, or whatever, or just in a...
Random sampling.
Yeah, or just, like, whatever. Like, if they're listening to something, I was just like, hey, we're listening to you. I promise you, I am not hitting on you, nor am I a creep. I'm genuinely interested in what you're listening to. And they're just like... because it's like, to me, like, that's how you stay connected with people. Like, I want to know, like what was that? See, Maggie Lindemann? Oh yeah, like
I've heard the name.
She's a big like pop thing, but she's kind of. It's like she's very big. Like Olivia Rodrigo, obviously, is now the big name with like Gen Z kids. Or
who is that?
I think she's like an ex-Disney chick who put out from what everyone says, is like a pretty cool rock record, and she like wrote a lot of it herself, and it's just kind of antagonistic breakup.
So they're like listening to rock. I figured there's some degree of revival of interest in rock music.
100%.
Interesting, because I mean, it is funny noticing them starting to dress like I
dress 90s now.
Yeah, I can't stand the 90s shit. Like you were saying, like I mean, some like with music, some things are eternally good, and the eternally good things change. The tradition mutates, but then there's the bad, which is always extrinsic to that. And it's like, baggy ass jeans, always bad. It's like, sorry, maybe I'm just a fucking millennial.
There's the kids like, that's the vibe, that's the style. They would not, I know kids that would not be caught dead in skinny jeans.
And I wore baggy jeans, and then at some point I'm like, this is not the way. Yeah,
and like kids just today, like I think about kids coming to the store, and like they would not be caught dead in skinny jeans. They wear like Jinkos and shit,
Yeah, no, I literally saw some skate kids wearing Jinkos the other day. Like, and I mean, to the degree that they were clearly deliberately trying to clone skate mag pics from the late 90s. And to that degree, I was like, okay, I get that these guys look cool, as it's understood now.
Yeah.
But fuck this shit.
Sure.
In my high school, there was a crew of skate kids. A lot of them were like this sort of, Volcom type thing. But there was a crew of kids who wore skin tight jeans and like GBH shirts. So like those kids, they were younger than me. We didn't really hang out, but I was like, those kids are fucking cool.
Right.
And how do you even skate with pants like that?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So like I'm interested in that sort of thing because I don't ever want to be that bitter old, they call it like dadcore or whatever. And I think I saw some Spotify statistic that Spotify put out where it was like the Great Satan, Spotify. I also have issues with every other service.
Of course.
Like Bandcamp.
I was going to finish what you're saying, then I'll ask you about Bandcamp.
And like everything else. that like 90%, it's some I'm going to fuck up the numbers. Ooh, pardon my language. I don't know if I've been swearing on this thing or not. But
dude, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah. I just, I'm a nice boy, Yeah. But, so like 90% of people over the age of 30 no longer like listen to like less than 5% new music. So 90% of the people over the age of 30 listen to less than 5% of new music. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're just like the music intake that they have is all stuff that they have.
Dude, YouTube is trying to sell me a millennial mixtape.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
It's probably got Eminem on it.
Probably. It's probably got like shitty indie rock bands.
Papa Roach.
I wish.
Yeah. I was never.
No, I mean, it was.
Luckily, like all that new metal stuff, like when that stuff came out, I was like super into skate punk, and I was like, "This is."
I was in middle school, and it was just the first time I'd heard things that sounded like that.
Yeah.
I always thought that song was kind of fucked up because it seemed to be about, it seemed to be a little too real.
Yeah.
But especially to a middle schooler.
I respect Slipknot because
It's,
I think that they're unlistenable and garbage.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
but
I always hate this freaky clown shit.
I've read their Wikipedia article
Yeah.
like several times,
Mhm.
and like that dude's like willed that band into being the biggest band in the world.
Did he?
The clown dude, he
Yeah.
was like 35 when that band started.
Joey Jordison, is that the guy?
Or
no, that's the
the
drummer.
percussionist.
Oh yeah, my
The clown.
the clown, the percussionist, is the one whose band it is.
It's his band.
Okay.
He like was like 30 some years old. He had like teenage children. I could be fucking the story up. I'm not though. And like came home and was like, I'm gonna start a band and we're gonna be the biggest band in the world.
That's sick.
And just willed the fucking thing into existence with 9 other people. That's crazy. And then I listen to their music and I'm like, this sucks ass. But I respect the shit out of it. And like I respect how heavy it is. Like
Yeah.
that Iowa record was a #1 record. That's heavy as fuck.
I remember I had a friend in middle school who was a drummer who was crazy into Slipknot. And
Sure.
I think I was like, maybe, I mean, hate to admit it, maybe some part of me was like, this is too crazy for me. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure I ever heard it because I think like, or any heard it in a substantial way, because I think I just, the Psycho Clown was the dumbest aesthetic in the world. And I
Sure.
just could not vibe with that.
Sure.
I never thought, there was a lot about nu metal that I thought was silly even when I listened to it.
Sure.
But I was just like, I gotta roll with this because that's what,
Right.
this is where the loud sounds come from.
Right. Yeah,
You
totally.
know?
Totally.
Yeah.
So anyway, what was your question?
Oh, Bandcamp. We're gonna
Yeah.
roll a Bandcamp.
Can I ask you, what do you think about Bandcamp?
Yeah. So I mean, it's an interesting question. I think my feeling would be that
I want to get your perspective before I get like the artist perspective.
yeah, it's like unlike it's in this family, right, of sort of like crowdsourced but centralizing tech things like YouTube, right? They at the beginning when they start out, they seem to be granting individuals a lot of power.
Yeah.
But there actually has this centralizing effect on everything. There becomes one hub for everything. It sort of, it starts to maybe create more cohesion than is healthy for the development of various genres.
Sure.
It was, maybe it was stupid that the Norwegians and Swedes hated each other in the mid-90s, but it was productive.
Right. Yeah.
That's just one example. But so it can have this, to some degree, it has this centralizing effect on the music. Most of the people who are most susceptible to that aren't the people who matter. The people checking Bandcamp homepage, metal, whatever, right? But
Sure.
would
I like to be on there? Sure.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Again, occasionally good bands are on there, and I think it's partly a function of just what does well, right?
Yeah.
It's partly curated, clearly.
Yeah, for sure. I know that dude Brad.
Yeah.
He does a lot of that stuff. I think at one point I reached out to him years ago. He might have been working for Sacred Bones, and I think he was like, "This is ass." And then a friend of a friend was like, "Yeah, I know what he listens to, and you are barking up the wrong tree with him." I was like, okay. Which is fair.
Yeah.
Like he's got his thing that he likes,
Yeah.
and it's not APL stuff.
Yeah. So Bandcamp, it has the centralizing effect. It's unlike most of those other things. It's remarkably well built.
Yeah.
I think it's a very it's very efficient and effective app. I've used it as a tool. I started I started following shit all the time. Somewhat sort of, I think, subconsciously preparing to do Terminus. But I just follow thousands, even if something looks stupid, I'll often follow it, right?
Sure.
And so it has this incredible functionality. On the other hand, if that's all you're tuned into, you miss the hard copy only underground.
Yeah.
You miss bands that are just, doing their own thing often wherever.
Yeah, message board core.
Yeah, you can find some very obscure things. There are some kinds of certain obscure things you can find on Bandcamp, and it's great, right?
Yeah.
It's
ubiquitous at this point. Everyone, no one exists without one anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
damn near.
Bandcamp, so it's good in that sense. Doing the show, we use it, and then you have to sort of consciously remind yourself, am I doing too much Bandcamp shit right now? And band.
It's become a adjective.
Yeah, like am I like pulling too much from this? Should I be digging harder? Right? For this, this month, how much have we done for that? Right? And so that about it is has had somewhat a negative effect. I mean, also like Bandcamp, I miss my Graveland album and you stole it from me. I also miss my Crota album and you stole it from me.
Was it taken down?
They used to do something kind of. I mean, none of the censorship is respectable, but they used to do some kind of respectable thing, which is basically like, we think it's bad, we took it down. However, you can still access it. Anyone who's already bought it can access it. Now they're just deleting stuff.
I mean, that seems fair.
Now they're...
It's also their website.
I'm saying now they're just clean deleting things you've already paid for.
Sure, and I get that, and it's like, I mean, that sucks, but also at the same time, it's their website. They can do whatever the fuck they want with it. I mean, it sucks.
Agreed, it sucks. There's no point complaining to them about it.
Yeah, right. They can do whatever they want. Yeah. That's why they offered you the hard download or whatever,
Exactly.
It's like, whatever. But my thoughts on Bandcamp were like, I feel like Lars from Metallica sometimes in the way that I've never done this. And it's like, I don't want to speak bad about Bandcamp because I love Bandcamp. It's been awesome. I discover music on Bandcamp all the time.
So it has helped. It's been good for business for Colloquial.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
One thing I keep telling people on social media is I go, sign up for the email list because social media is not forever. I tell people on Instagram, on Twitter, whatever, which is at Damian Master, DAMIANMASTER. Follow those things if you're interested in that to keep up with me. It's like once you've heard this, like, it's not a plug for clout. Just if you want to tune in, that's where I am. So like things like Bandcamp, they're not eternal. Things like Twitter, they're not eternal. Things like Instagram are not eternal. What is eternal is like an email list, a newsletter. Because I've been getting newsletters for 30 years for bands. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, we try to be on lists for things.
And so it's like that, and then that newsletter will point you to the spot du jour. Whether today it's Bandcamp.
That's true.
Or Big Cartel or whatever. And but that will be the best spot to find information. Bandcamp's cool. I dig it. I have nothing bad. I was going to do that thing where I go, I have nothing bad to say about it. And then you think bad about it.
Thing. Yeah.
It's like, I don't have a problem with it. And say the problem. I think that like the way that their pricing is, it's really, I would never call it disingenuous, but they've done a really, really, really good job at their marketing and telling everyone like, we give to the artists, they get all this stuff. You're supporting the best way possible from people.
Yeah.
And yes, that is true because compared to the payouts from streaming, which are abysmal.
Yeah.
I make an okay amount purely because I have a ton of catalog.
Yeah.
So it's like,
that's what they call passive income.
Yeah.
Shit like, that's already out there.
Yeah, it's like, well, here's the deal. It's like if you're a kid and you decide you like Aksumite, guess what? There's 200 Aksumite songs you listen to. You know what I mean? It's not like you discover a band and, like, woe to the doom metal bands of the world. Like, what does Mournful Congregations pay out like,
Yeah.
Because you don't, who's streaming an entire Mournful Congregation song? Because you get to the last 3 minutes when it's just like that. And then they skip to the next thing. But guess what? That doesn't count as a full stream.
Okay, but so you do okay on streaming because of the size that you've got a lot of short songs out there.
Sort of. Yeah, kind of.
But normally we all agree streaming sucks ass. So like Bandcamp is better than that.
It is better than that. But so they have this like complicated revenue share stream. And the thing that I dislike about it is that your physical sales count against your revenue share stream. You have to hit this certain revenue dollar. And then once that kicks in, no matter what, PayPal gets their cut. That's fine. You got to pay the piper. I'm not mad at PayPal.
Or Bandcamp,
Yeah.
You also have to pay out separately to PayPal.
Correct. PayPal gets a cut no matter what. PayPal gets a cut no matter what. They're like 12% off rip. But that's fine. Right. Nothing, I'm not one of those people that thinks everything should be free.
Sure.
PayPal's a fucking service we all use and trust and love.
Yeah.
If you got a problem with that, increase your price 12%.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know I sound like a capitalist pig. I am not. but I'm a realist, and it's like I get it. Like, if you want to be a part of this
of
e-commerce
course.
thing,
Like,
PayPal's the thing you gotta use.
PayPal does that. If you want to if you're on the business end of it, you have to pay for it.
100%, 100%, and that's fine. They have a lot of money, but they're entitled to it. What they do with it, that's up to them.
So you got the PayPal tithe, and then Bandcamp.
Yes.
Someone on Instagram was telling me about this the other day, but
Yeah,
I didn't
what did they
totally
say?
know what he meant. About like he said something like it seems like you get punished for selling physical or something. So explain.
Correct.
So
Correct.
explain this.
So you sell physical stuff, and basically what that does is that builds up a certain number, and you have to hit like once they count 20% of that towards your overall revenue stream. It's super complicated. I've read the thing like a dozen times. I sent it to like people who have graduate degrees, and they're like, this is kind of confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the reason that it breaks my heart is because they'll have this like. So basically, you get punished for selling physical stuff.
So it's like after you sell a certain amount of physical, it starts counting against you, or before you sell a certain amount?
The whole time it counts against you until you hit this certain mark. It's almost like your payment doesn't come in until you hit this mark of this total dollar.
Oh, I get it.
thing.
They're not giving you some amount of digital until you've sold X amount of physical.
No, that's not it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
They give you but here's the deal: is that every once in a while. Well, because of the way their payout systems work, somebody could probably chime in the comments and be like, "Wow, for a guy who's used the service for 10 years, you don't know shit about it." But basically, like you have to, based on your sales, which is either 10% or 15% or whatever, you have to hit this like shared revenue thing, and then once you do that, then if somebody buys a record for $9.99, a digital record for $9.99, less the PayPal fee, which is 12% or roughly 8%, I think, you're going to get $8 of that. That is wild. Bandcamp pays out wild money. Like, that's awesome. That's super cool. But here's the thing, is that, like, there needs to be a sort of democratization of the process and the payout structure to where it's like, I would much rather be like, we here at Bandcamp, because here's the other thing about Bandcamp. I pay them $10 a month.
Yeah.
You can have the free one, you can have the pro one, the $10 a month. They give you a bunch of.
Well, you got a big operation.
Yeah, you got a feature. So it's like, no matter what, I'm paying them $10 a month. And also, sorry about that.
That's all good.
Threw a bottle cap at you. But also, I am 100% okay with paying Bandcamp $10 a month because they're providing me a service. Yeah. I'm okay with that. But like, it'll break my heart because like somebody will do like a pay what you want thing. Like, it happened the other day, like, somebody was like, man, I love this record. Like, I'm going to throw you $20 for I Licked It, Now It's Mine. Mm-hmm. Bandcamp eats all 20 of it.
Oh.
But then it all evens out, right? Because your future purchases, you'll get a bigger percentage of those because that 20 was eaten up on that. But it's like...
Oh, I see. There's a fixed amount they're going to take from anything before you start making
I wish that was the case. It's super confusing.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so it's like, if they were just like, here at Bandcamp, we're going to take 10% of every sale, no matter what, I would be like... fantastic.
Yeah.
I can handle that. But like, it breaks my heart because they do this song and dance where they want to like tell people. And again, like, maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot, and maybe Bandcamp will hear this and be like, "Fuck this guy." But like, they hated Lars from Metallica too, and guess what? He was right. When he went after Napster.
So here's another old man angle then. Like, do you find? I imagine that it does.
It just breaks my heart because just I want to finish that thought. I don't want.
Oh, for sure.
I'm so sorry. That sounds so aggressive. It just breaks my heart because somebody paid $20 under the guise that I was going to get less PayPal fees, less a Bandcamp fee, a majority of that $20, and instead it because I had sold a bunch of other previous stuff and I had built up that revenue cap that I had to hit. It's just like, and I get it. And if the Bandcamp people listening, they're going to go, yeah, but listen. When your next sales happen, whenever that is, if people give a shit about your band, then you'll get that money back and it all evens out and it's all roughly 10% no matter what. And I'm just like, but can't we just make it a flat thing? And then part of me is like, so I'm such a stupid person that I don't understand. I'm like, why don't we make this simple? And then like, also, if you're doing it this way, I also feel like I'm being cheated somehow because why would you not just do a flat rate per transaction?
Yeah, that's true.
Is that me being super, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, just super, like...
Idealistic?
Not idealistic. Is that me being, like, what's it called when you're, like, just, like, cautious of everyone or whatever?
Paranoid.
Yeah.
I mean, what they would say they're doing.
Like, they're doing it for a reason.
They're exactly. And so
it's optimizing their profit.
They would say they're optimizing profit, but it's like, if you were as altruistic as you said you were, you would be like the record label that's like, let's handshake on this, bro.
Yeah.
You try to do, the best places do stand-up business even when it's impractical.
Yeah, like Touch and
Go. You
Go
don't have to be
records.
deaf like silence. You don't have to send everyone your records for free. But,
It's like Touch and Go, like, they operated for all those years. I mean, they had an issue with the butthole servers only. But everything else was a handshake deal, And I read like a 4AD book, and Ivo was like, any of our bands are free to fuck off at any point.
Yeah.
Don't like how the deal's going? Great, go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was a handshake. It was all like the Touch and Go thing, and I think like the Discord thing was like, we will put out your record, we will pay for all the shit like that. We get 50%. Once we recoup, so let's say the whole record costs $20 grand to put out, we get the first $20 grand. And every dollar after that, we get 50%, you get 50%. And every band was like, we'll take it.
Dude, what places I think often don't realize is that, like, committing to a certain degree of quote unquote impracticality out of some sort of principle pays long-term dividends. And the long-term dividends are not necessarily maximum profit. So if that's your way of doing things, fuck off, right? But like, but there's a way of, there's a way, like 4AD, right? Like 4AD, there's a way of building ethos with building like some sort of trust with people who follow your shit. And then, there are all sorts of labels and all sorts of bands that make a lot of money for a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when that's not the flavor of the week or whatever, bam. Right.
Like, I'm sure the Wolfgang Press and Rima to an extent, or whatever the fuck. I'm blanking on some other bands. Sure, they made a lot of money for 4AD, but they sure as fuck didn't make Modern English money for them.
Mm-hmm.
They sure as fuck didn't make Cocktail Twins money for them, and it's like they were able to keep those bands on because of the way they operated. They were able to keep those bands you were able to keep Cocktail Twins from going. I mean, they eventually went to a bigger label for, I think it was Heaven or Las Vegas or whatever, but it's one of those things like, it drove me to build a website. Because at first I'm like, who has a website anymore?
That is the broad tendency of the internet right now, I think, is a move towards people who have the pulse moving towards decentralization again.
100%. So
we don't want to be dependent on YouTube for that.
Right. So I went to Squarespace to build a website because I'm like, this will be the easiest way to do it. I had my friend help me. We built a pretty fucking decent looking website. Yeah. It's colloquialsoundrecordings.com. And there's a web store function that's built into it. They take a flat, 8% per transaction, and that includes the payment processing fees.
That's pretty good. What's the web store service?
Is it Shopify?
Dude, I think Death Wish uses that too. I just bought that. I bought that Planes Mistaken for Stars shirt, and they use that, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Because it was like, here's some other app trying to tell me what, I have to make an account for this other app. No, you don't
have to do that with my stores. You can just, I think it's just the process. They want to do that because
I think I might have had the option not to be fair.
Yeah, they want to lock you into here's your tracking delivered to your phone and here's this and that. And
but so it's a good service.
Better it's a great service.
Bandcamp,
it's awesome. I don't want to say it's better than Bandcamp because Bandcamp allows the social
does different kinds of things. Yeah.
Bandcamp has a social aspect of it to where it's like, you can follow this band.
But in terms of the money. Better.
Yeah, in terms of the money, it's nicer to just get that little chunk.
So here's the other old guy angle. How does CSR, how does the Bandcamp phenomenon relate to record stores? So, for instance, there's
That's punishing.
Exactly, right? Because the local record store here, I know they generally don't sell a lot of the stuff I wanted, but I also know that the guy who runs it is chill, and if I went there, he could special order various things, and that, maybe I could get an Inquisition record there, and that'd be, who doesn't like an Inquisition record, right? Sure. But, given that on the one hand, you've got DIY hard copy and you order tapes from people in Siberia.
It's all about
and
distribution.
on the other hand, you've got Bandcamp.
Yeah.
I never go in.
It's all about distribution. And that's the only dinosaur model that's still left is that you have to distro the thing to get it into the hands of like the record stores. My record store is a little bit different in that all of us that work there, we're not afraid to reach out to labels individually.
Oh yeah, that's
Brandon,
important.
who works at the store, he plays drums in that band Cloud Rat.
Oh, that's an important band.
Yeah, maybe for you.
No, not for me. I barely know how Cloud Rat. I have a hypothesis about how Cloud Rat sounds, but I don't think I've ever heard.
There was a very funny
2
video
minutes.
where these two like jacked metalhead dudes were talking about Cloud Rat and about how like it sucks. Like, I don't know anything about it. Like, they just feel like they don't eat meat and they don't fuck good. And like you go to their house and they got like Bjork records, and I was like, I can't attest to that how that dude fucks, but he doesn't eat meat, and Bjork is his favorite artist, so it was very funny. Don't know how he fucks though. I'm sure it's probably pretty strong though. But like Brandon loves like dungeon synth, so he's like not afraid to reach out to every dungeon synth label and be like, "Yo, we want to buy your shit for our store." But that's rare that stores do that. That they reach out to so they need to go to a centralized distribution. Be that like. For us, like, primarily, it's like Hell's Headbangers is a great resource, and they sell wholesale to stores. So
they carry like virtually everything.
They do, yeah. And it's weird because for years and years and years, I resisted distribution because I was making so much money selling stuff direct to customers.
Yeah, I see, yeah.
And it's like now, it's like it's funny because I reached out to one place for distribution. I won't say who, and I had a relationship with them through the store or whatever. This was like a bigger spot. It's not Hell's Headbangers.
So distributing your shit.
Distributing the CSR stuff.
Yeah.
It's not Hell's Headbangers. I'd like to reach out to them at some point. But, because they probably take it on. They take on everything. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Also, if you're a metalhead listening to the show, check out A Pregnant Light. You'll probably, even if you think you don't like things like it, you might like it a lot.
Yeah.
Also, if you're at this point in the interview, you probably do like it. So,
yeah. Or you're like fascinated by what it asks.
Or you're just bored at work, right? But, so it is.
Yeah. But so like,
so yeah,
I reached out to this distro thing, and they were just like, I kind of gave them some numbers and gave them whatever, and they were just like, we should think it's going to be profitable, and it's just like for us to carry it. And I get it; it's also a very hard time. COVID has fucked up a bunch of shit. Like I get it, like, but that was shocking because everyone was like, dude, you should just go there. That'll be perfect for you, perfect fit. And I have a relationship with these people, and they were like, nah, and I was like. That was like a real like come to Jesus moment for me where I was just like, oh, like I don't, and like look at all the press I have and all this other things, and they were just like, nah, it's just not worth doing. We're doing stuff, but I was just like, oh, and then all of a sudden I was just like, so I'm gonna go downstairs and I'm gonna put on the song "Failure" by Swans, and it's like the goddamn slave ship. I was like, this is me. but then at the same time, I'm just like, I'm that like keep going, keep punching guy, and like.
Yeah.
Like, am I concerned about 2 years? This year's the 10-year anniversary of CSR. Yeah. I put out a sick hoodie that had the 10-year thing on it. I don't give a shit about anything else. I'm concerned about the next 10 years. Yeah. I'm concerned about what APL is doing next. You know what I listen to all the time? Is the unreleased APL that I'm working on. I listened to Broken Play, but like when Broken Play came out, I jammed that fucker forever until I wrote new shit, And then I listened to that. And so it's like, I've been jamming like.
So you enjoy listening to your own stuff?
100%. Yeah. Like Tim, my better half. That sounds bad again, but it doesn't actually. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's
fine.
My hetero life mate Tim, who plays in Aksumite, he's played session bass on all the APL records to date because he's a better bass player than I am. He was like, he said one time, people that don't listen to their own music should start a band they like better.
I think that's probably.
I understand. To me, it's different than like watching a movie you're in.
I understand.
It's got to be. I think I saw like a Brad Pitt thing one time where he was like, "I've never seen a movie I was in." He was like, I just don't want to see myself 20 feet on a screen.
And it's he's already been there to some degree.
Yeah, it's because music is different because you can experience it walking your dog. You can experience it in bed with your headphones on. You can experience it driving down the highway. It's all. You can experience music many different ways. Also,
the way music works with way fewer hands in the pot. I don't know that Brad Pitt can watch his own movie and be like, okay, cool. So next time some idiot casts me to play Achilles in Troy, I'll do this. Right? Whereas when you listen to your own music, you're learning.
Yeah,
I definitely don't like listen to it to jam out to it, but there are things I'm proud of that when I put on, I'm like, I enjoy this in the way I enjoy the things that I really like.
Right, yeah. It's like if you're not liking your own music, I'm not saying I listen to it exclusively.
Yeah, no, of course not.
I listen to a lot of my music especially as I've gotten better, like writing and recording, to like get better at that. It's like to me, it's like Monday morning football quarterback shit.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Like what? Okay, what? Like I'll record a track and then I'll listen to it obsessively for a week because you want to dissect the tape, find out what's wrong, what do we need to change, what hits, what doesn't hit, what bores me after 5 listens. Yeah. What keeps me excited after 5 lessons?
And are you doing that repeat?
Or 10 lessons or 20
Are you doing that repeat listening while, like, will you then go back and change the song? Or is 100%. It like that song's done?
No, 100%. I'll go back and change it. Until it's done. Until the fucker is released, it's up in the air.
Right.
Then, also, once it's done, it's done. Like, it does not belong to me anymore. I would like to still get paid for it, if possible. But I'm not one of those people that's, like, precious about those things. Like, so if you have it in, like, all of the things that you said in your like amazing review, which like I will go so far as to say that your review has made my year so far. Like truly, like it's the best thing that's happened to me this year. Is just to have somebody get it, and like we don't, and the fact that you and I can sit here and talk and not have to like be like, can you explain this line in Baby Chain? And it's like, no, because it doesn't belong to me anymore. It belongs to you. Like you are that record now. Like you are, and you talked in that review like, hey, you have to be careful about not placing yourself in there. And I was just like, fuck that. It's you, dog. Like I love Yeats. I love Yeats so much, and the fact that you ended that thing with the Yeats thing, I was like, you could have knocked me over with a feather, man. Like, and I had not heard that quote before either. And so, like, is who is Damian Master? Like, is Damian Master? Is he a fake? Is it a character? Is he like this outlaw? I love that outlaw thing. I'd never thought of myself like that, but it's right. I certainly don't give a fuck about the law. And there's a bunch of people in my life that can attest to that. Or feelings or whatever, you know? And it's like, how do I simultaneously have all the feels and none of the feels at the same time, you know?
That's very Yeatsian.
Right, I think so.
So, you know, intensely impassioned, someone who like took things very personally, suffered deeply. You can even see he basically admits to being neurotic in a variety of ways. In that same thing I was quoting from, he talks about it, you know, and you know, feels powerfully in a lot of ways, and at the same time has this distance from everything, and especially when he's just like when the whole mask thing is sort of like when I am in poet mode. I am, you know, distant.
Yeah,
you know,
like,
there are certain modes, not just your art or whatever, but there's certain modes of life, certain stances that are different.
Yeah, and I feel like when I make the music, I feel like there's that Kanye thing where he put out a song called "I Am a God," and famously in an interview, people go, "Who does he think he is?" And he's like, "I just told you, a god." You know, and it's like that's me, dog. Like, oh God. Like when I'm making my music, when I put it out, like that's it. Like it's the most empowering, powerful. Like there's nothing fake, there's nothing phony about it, there's nothing whatever, and it exists in that moment. But like when I choose to put it out on Bandcamp, Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, YouTube, Napster, Deezer, I get the spreadsheets.
Scrabbler.
Yeah, is that a thing?
No.
Yeah, I signed a deal with Plastic Head, which is like the biggest distribution company in the world.
Yeah, they do Emperor.
Yeah, they do lots of cool bands. Yeah. They distribute me digitally. So they sent me a contract a few years ago to handle my digital distribution. Now, have they knocked on my door like, we would like to press your records and put out your records and distribute them? They're like, hell no. But we'll do it digitally. So basically, I submit all the stuff to Plastic Head, and Plastic Head puts it on every single streaming site, and then I get the numbers. Dog, there are streaming sites I've never even heard of that are like popular in like Croatia or Brazil or Argentina.
That makes sense.
Or whatever. Yeah. Like, okay, for example.
Proud to say Terminus gets hits from VK. The Russian social media thing.
Us too. Yeah, me too. Like, I did an interview for VK and I recorded that Sisters of Mercy cover. I did Mother Russia just because I have a lot of Russian fans.
Yeah.
In fact,
there's that is that Russian sort of social media group?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And then, in fact, I get like Apple Music and Spotify sends me updates every week. My number one region in the world is Russia.
Yeah, that is.
What's up to all the hot Russian bitches listening? Pull up.
You said you You've toured Russia?
I have not. Would like to.
Oh yeah, because wait, of course you haven't toured it because you haven't toured.
No, not with APL.
Yeah.
Other things, yes, but not with APL. But
yeah. All right, brain fart,
dude. Yeah, I mean, Russia would be. I mean, it sounds like a joke. I keep joking about the oncoming APL Russian collusion tour. Yeah, I fully intend to collude with Russia in every way.
Yeah.
Like, how do I make like KGB X APL shirts or whatever? Like,
yeah.
No, but I mean, honestly, like
Damian Master, the spy who loved me.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I love that, dude. I love that. I'm gonna steal that at some point.
You should.
But yeah, like do that from a business standpoint. Like when people talk about touring, I was like, we should do Moscow and St. Petersburg.
Why do you think people from Russia are into it?
Probably because it's super American. I think my music is hyper American.
It is hyper American. Yeah,
I think that turns off a lot of people too, because I think a lot of I guess, are we allowed to use this word? I don't care, but like posers. A lot of
I mean,
you say it all the time.
Yeah,
you say it all the time on the show, and you berate bands and stuff like that. And I do it privately.
We're on the show. We are gentle.
You are, yeah, you are. No,
like,
I know.
It's like the show is us on our best behavior. We had a guy on our Discord, People think people who listen think we're like harsh with criticism, and it's like, my God.
Right,
no.
Even hearing like when you were critiquing that Dress and Fumes record that I put out, I was just like, even though I'm tangentially involved with that.
Yeah.
It felt like somebody, which you liked the record, for heaven's sake.
Yeah.
You liked the record, and you were just like, I was just like, it felt like someone was talking bad about your kid or something like that. You know what I mean? You're like,
I feel that.
But it was like, but I loved it. And that is and you had a bunch of shitty things to say about me. And that is the impetus of me reaching out to you, because I wanted people to know I'll pull up on your ass anywhere. And we got to be friends.
Yeah, you did. I mean, that's funny. We were friends probably instantly. Yeah. I will also say, I think when we reviewed that, you were an unknown quantity to us. I would say, I think the death metal guy was more skeptical, in part just because he didn't know your work at all, right? And he's just like, I have one foot in your world of hardcore guy likes the Smiths and shit, you know. And the death metal guy
also likes Niflheim.
Exactly, and
a lot.
Oh, you're one of the people who listens to Niflheim.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, see, you really like this sort of thrashing stuff that's just nobody ever associates with your music.
Yeah.
We were talking about Ares Kingdom
Niflheim Envoy of Lucifer tattoo here.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I could. I love the record, but it's mostly just because of the image. It's the Reaper, you know.
It's got that one's got a lot of shreddy melody on it, right?
It does.
Which is pretty cool. I remember back in the day.
It's got a Turbo Negro. There's like Turbo Negro parts on it. There's like rocking, and there's a straight up Turbo Negro part on it.
Dude, you fuck with helicopters?
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
Nika Anderson's thing?
Yeah, Contra Opinion, Helicopters over Entombed. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That's, so listeners, Helicopters actually was the band of the...
I might co-sign that. Entombed rips, but I think Helicopters rip.
Yeah, it's the drummer from Entombed who was actually writing a lot of the riffs in Entombed, right?
He was Entombed.
Yeah. So, I mean, I also like his other death metal band better. I like Death Breath better.
Yeah, that's also not a controversial opinion amongst metalheads. I think Death Breath is supremely beloved.
Death Breath was like, I think in part, Death Metal Guy has convinced me I don't like Swedish death metal that much, and that there are good things to be said against it.
Here's a funny Nika Anderson.
But that shit was formative for me when I was getting into metal, proper metal.
Absolutely.
And it spoke directly to the punk stuff. And I checked it. I've been listening to a lot of Helicopters because I've been in a decent mood. And I went back and checked Death Breath recently, and I'm like, this fucking kills.
Yeah.
This was before the whole Sweet Death revival, and it was better.
Totally.
You know, that and...
Scott Carlson plays on it, right?
Yeah. Oh, wait, who's Scott Carlson?
Repulsion guy?
Oh, whoa. That makes sense.
That guy?
Yeah. Yeah, Death Metal guy knows Repulsion better than me.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, last year for the store, I had to do my top 5 records. Mm-hmm. And I had that Swevin record, The Eternal Resonance.
I don't know who Swevin is.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
Everything, because I'm mostly I'm a metal guy, but I'm also a punk and hardcore guy. Mm. But the punk and hardcore I listen to is super like noisy and fast and like all in that dischargey and vein, but like even like new bands like that. Now we are living in the new golden age of that.
You sort of were involved with the kind of mysterious guy wing of the scene,
for
right?
sure,
like the sort of Klaxon Records or what was the other big label? So it's Youth Attack. Were you into Youth Attack stuff?
Yeah, I like Youth Attack stuff.
Sure.
I was. There's a mild association there. We won't bore our listeners with.
All right.
But yeah, of course, it's great. Did a band with a couple of those guys, but like the what the fuck was I talking about? The
Top 10 list.
Sweven, that Eternal Resonance record. Nothing about that record. First of all, it's death metal. Don't like death metal. Mm-hmm. Second of all, it's progressive. Don't like progressive music. Third of all, it's Swedish. Unless it's punk, not really with Swedish shit. Or Bathory.
Mm-hmm. Bathory's pretty punk.
Pretty much a punk band. So I was like, my buddy was like, dude, I don't know why, but like, I think you might dig this record. And I was just like, okay. He's like, it sounds like nothing you would like. And I was like, nah, this ain't it, dog. And then like, the second track came in. I was like, maybe this is it. And I love that record. It's a cool record you guys should check out. I think Vaughn put it out.
Okay.
Like Earthhouse is on Vaughn.
We do like Vaughn.
And I was super into it. I was like, these kids are out of fucking control. Like, this dude. Oh, it was the dudes in Morbus Kron. They were in that band.
Okay, no, I have heard of this record, and I have thought, is this the sort of weird death metal I would like? And then I never clicked on it.
It's awesome. And then my buddy ruined it for me by saying that the main guy in the band is Nika Andersson's nephew. And I was like, oh, fuck. Talent flows from his blood. This isn't fair. He ruined it for me. I'm like, well, of course it's good.
Yeah.
Because Nika Andersson can just do whatever he wants to do. He just sits down at an instrument and writes a hit song. I'm just like, fuck, that's Swevnik. Of course it's good. Your uncle is a genius.
Yeah.
Fuck.
But yeah, so, let's see.
What else you got on your sheet?
I
don't know how long we've been going.
Yeah, we've been going. So we're either gonna wrap it up or I'm gonna take a piss. It's about 9. We've got some time before the bars close, but not that long before we can get food because the kitchen closes early.
Sure.
So
yeah, we can get out. I feel like I feel like honestly, like if people don't listen to my section of the interview, that's fine. Like,
bro,
I'm gonna be pushing people to hear what you had to say. Honestly, it was just an excuse for us to hang out. And like I said, we didn't really talk much about Broken Play because I honestly feel like you covered Broken Play in a way that, like, yeah, I'm still kind of floored by it. Still knocking over with a feather. But, I mean, it's an important record. It's the second APL record. It was, you know, we didn't even talk about fucking, who cares about the recording and shit like that, you know?
Yeah, fair enough.
Whatever. It was a blur, a weird time in my life. Like, but it's, I was going to say this, like, I don't know if I've ever said it, like, publicly, but, like, one thing was, like, after APL was kind of, like, blew up in 2014 when the full length came out, everyone was, like, hot on it, because it was different, it was cool. Mm-hmm. And then there was, like, this new crop of bands that showed up that were, like, super, like, no, this is how black metal is. And all of a sudden, like, I'm being told what black metal is by a 20-year-old who, like, 5 years ago, which I get it, we're all kids, we all still come from somewhere. I get it, totally. Yeah. But, like, yeah, I'm being told by, like, a 20-year-old that I'm not true. I'm being told by, like, a 20-year-old that, like, who doesn't even know who Volcano is, dog? Mm-hmm. Who's never listened to Sex Trash? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The record rips. You know, it's like,
that makes sense. You'd like that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like being told what real black metal is, real whatever. First of all, I never purported to be that shit. And then I also got tagged with the term girlfriend metal. Do you know that term?
That was
a while ago.
That was a
thing.
The funny thing is probably that the same people who invented that term certainly couldn't get away with it now, and also would frantically disavow it.
100%.
Like they're exactly, and it was a funny term. We all know what it means. It was the same as like Kailisa shirt guy was another good name.
Oh, is that a thing?
Yeah.
Kailisa shirt guy?
Made by the same people, right?
Okay.
Same social sector of.
I like Kailisa.
Well, I was gonna say, I fuck with that first Kailisa record hard, and there are a couple
up to Static Tensions. I'm not familiar with much after Static Tensions, but up to and including Static Tensions.
Oh no! This spring I was like, let me go check out Kailisa again. I just was like, hell yeah, yeah.
True story. One of my bands opened for Kailisa, and it was the worst show I've ever played. I won't say what bands, but we opened for Kailisa, and when I think about like the worst show, just in regards to no band members playing the same song at the same time, a complete disaster, train wreck, and everyone from Kailisa was 18 inches from me. Because they were just on the side of the stage watching the whole time. So the worst show I've ever played in my life was opening for Kailisa.
Well, that's
But yeah, even girlfriend metal. But, we had
you got damned as girlfriend metal.
I think that's funny. I never thought of that now that shit would never fly.
And it's like literally the same people who would tell everyone else how bad and sexist that was are the people who came up with it.
Yeah, that I can't speak on, but
I don't know the literal.
Sure sounds right to me, but like obviously there were bands that popped off a trillion times bigger than me, like Liturgy, Death Heaven, who I did not hear any Death Heaven until which is funny because they're on Death Wish, but I just was not interested in that sort of music from Death Wish.
Yeah.
And there was an element too of me being like maybe a little jealousy, where I was like, oh, they get to be on Death Wish, like I don't want to listen to them. But they were not in my scene, they were not a part of my thing, and it's like I've never heard Sunbather. But then we put on New Bermuda in the store, and I was like, this is fucking heavy. Like,
was it?
It was super aggressive, and
did they?
Everyone
they
was
were
like,
really a deathcore band, or basically a bunch of them were in a deathcore band before.
I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. I'm not going to sit here and talk about another man's band like that.
Yeah,
but but we were lumped into that scene or whatever. And what was funny about that was that their second record was hyper aggressive, and I'm not sure when it came out. If it came out before Broken Prairie, after Broken Play, they have nothing to do with me. Mm-hmm. I have nothing to do with them. However, I'm going to be honest in regards to what was in my head. What was in my head was this, like, everyone's like, it's this pretty boy. I got hit with faggy a lot. This faggy black metal, fake black metal, poser shit, girlfriend metal. Like, it's metal my girlfriend likes. And it got in my head where my second record, Broken Play, I wanted to write there's no singing on that record. Most of my other shit is singing in it. And I wanted to write. It was also a very dark time in my life. Very dark time. The darkest. And I just channeled all that into like heavy, unbridled aggression, And now I feel like the new stuff is a mix of that. Like I Licked It, Now It's Mine is like that heaviness and that aggression, but it's got some melodies to it and it's got some whatever. But I wonder, again, it's whack to sit here and speculate on another grown ass set of men, what they're doing. But like, I did the first time I heard Death Heaven was that second record, and I was like, oh, someone must have told them they were girlfriend metal too, because this is just a heavy record. Yeah, I didn't love it, didn't care for it, but I didn't also give it a fair shake. It was in the store, not a great time to listen to music.
I mean, I was the same. I heard a metalcore breakdown, and I was like, okay, well, I'm glad they're embracing it, but it sounded kind of like Gent. And then,
it's very funny. I call people degents sometimes. I'm like, oh, this degent over here.
Dude, that is a total type of person, man.
Yeah, to call someone a degent.
You can recognize a man who likes gent. It's not easy, but I can pick them out. I can smell them out.
Fucking degent.
Yeah.
And then it's very funny because occasionally someone will try to correct you and go, it's actually, I'm like, I know. And that's why you're a degent. So, yeah, the Broken Play was a super heavy record because I did have the people in my head telling me that I wasn't heavy. And when you're a part of something, when you're a part of a scene, you want to be accepted by that scene. Mm-hmm. Obviously. So it's like I wanted to be heavy and put out a heavy record. So in that sense, I did have people in my ear. I wasn't crowdsourcing self-esteem, as Kanye would say. I wasn't or crowdsourcing riffs or ideas or anything. I just recorded the record and put it out, And thankfully people dug it. And there was a long time between 2014 and 2019. I promised people there wasn't going to be that long of a gap between the second and the third record. And there won't be. We're working on it right now. So, but yeah, I mean, Broken Play was I think I think that record has a cool space in the discography. It's a heavy record. It's a dark record. I think the next record will also be heavy, will also be dark, but it'll just be, it's, you got to kind of come out of the woods at some point, and I think My Game Doesn't Have a Name from 14 was like such a triumphant, badass, cool, like rock record that like a lot of girls liked, honestly,
Yeah.
And dudes too, but I mean, like, it was one of those things where girls were like, well, this is like,
it's also fine to have girls. It's very good to have women like you.
Right, yeah, exactly. I'm like, why am I being punished for this? Yeah, it's like, why am I being, it's like, I'm being punished for this. And it's like, I want to appeal to female listeners.
So you're going to try to blend those sides.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going.
I mean, the new thing, right? I Liked It, Now It's Mine is musically similar to Broken Play.
It's heavy. It's
very
heavy,
thrashy. Yeah,
it's heavy.
Some great metal riffing on it. Lyrically and mood-wise, completely different. Like, that record, I highly recommend to listeners. Listen to it on like 5 times the first time I got it. Completely captures the deranged, horny mood of this summer as everyone sort of, is like going out and
fully vaxxed and ready to fuck.
Yeah,
I see another meme like that.
In our neck of the woods, it's super fucking muggy and hot, and you can just tell the instincts are driving everyone nuts. Yeah. And like it's like musically similar, but it's coming from, and it's got some darkness to it, but it's coming from a way more exuberant place.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Yeah, for sure. That's the vibe too. Is that it's like, I want to be proud. I want to be a proud boy. There you go. Take that out of print. Take that out of context. Like, no, I was joking. I do not want to be a proud boy. But I want to be.
A very square. That's really like, I want to be as square as possible.
Yeah, no, obviously we're joking here. Yes. But I want to be proud. I want to be strong, and I want to be confident, and I am those things. And it's like the Yeats thing says, like, you wear the mask long enough, and you become that.
Inside, behind your back, around